Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 234 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah, extra snaps there. Today, recording day is Friday. Thank God I'm Fly Day. October 20th, 2023, and it's gonna be a rainy day here at the Beaver Lodge, pretty much except for between now and 11 a.m. But after 11 a.m., it seems that it's, somebody's gonna make little baby Jesus cry for the rest of the day. That's what I was once told that was as a kid, as if it was raining, it's because the baby Jesus was crying.
That's really disturbing.
No, it's totally disturbing.
Like really troublesome.
No. Fortunately, it was not. Fortunately, it was not my mother who taught me that. What was that at the end?
It's really a harp.
Okay, I just heard a at the end, which was a little weird.
Oh, it might have been me drinking my coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So I gave the date, recording day. Thank you to our sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a Friday morning bite for you. But before we do anything else, let's say hello to our dear friend, Mr. Grizzly, and ask him, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
Good morning, Mr. Beaver. Mental health wise, I'm still in a little bit. I'm not. Wow, let's try that sentence over again.
All right.
Physical pain has diminished substantially since yesterday. So I'm not 100%. So mentally, I'm not there either. But I'm able to function as a person today, which is good. So I do have to go into the office this morning because I wasn't there yesterday, and there's a couple of things that need to be taken care of. So I do have to go in today. So this won't be as long as it normally would be on a Friday, unless if you want, I can go in and then come back, and you can keep going. It's up to you, sir. You tell me what you want to do.
We'll see what we have, how we're doing content wise. I'm the one that has a bit of a headache this morning, so hopefully it will go away. And thank you, kids, for your patience. We had a late rising beaver today. You can still see the pillow print.
Pillow marks
on there. So this is how freshly risen I am. So let's put it this way: bread is more risen than I am right now. Oh my God! All right. Lots of things in the news, of course, because we're just living in the most screwed up timeline. let's start with. Oh, gee. How
I
about
have
you
a
start us off
I
with
have a
something
piece
today,
of
Mr. Grizzly?
I have a piece of pleasantly good news for those of us in the nation's capital.
Oh, I would like that.
Those of us who are sports fans in the nation's capital,
Yeah.
and if you're a fan of the Ottawa Senators,
Yes.
it's a damn fine cup of coffee. New owner Michael Andlauer suggested LeBreton Flats could be the best spot for a new arena for the team. He says, and I quote, "It seems that people want the arena downtown. Certainly the NCC is desirous of it for the LeBreton lands. My gut feel says it's the right thing. Our fans seem to feel that way as well. So there's alignment." I'm like, oh,
We felt that 30-something years ago, though.
yeah. Well, 30 years ago was a different NCC.
Yes.
They were opposed to
Almost
pretty much everything.
anything that was fun, remotely fun.
Absolutely.
If it
Yeah,
didn't look
they've really,
institutional or anything like this, is this serious? We're a capital. It has to look serious.
yeah, it was an old boys club basically, and it has changed because I've worked with the CEO of the NCC, Toby Newsbaum, real nice fella. Worked with him a couple of times, and he's just amenable to opportunity. The NCC, the way they view things is in 50-year outlooks, right? So but he's like, we still have to exist today. We still have to function today. We can't think of only 50 years from now. We need to do what we can now to make things better. And to give you an example of how much the NCC has changed, you know this, Mr. Beaver, but many people who don't live in Ottawa know that Spark Street, which is a pedestrian mall which opened in the 60s, and it's one block south of Wellington Street. Wellington Street is where Parliament Hill is. Spark Street, no traffic. Spark Street, the north side is owned by Parliament Hill. The south side is owned by the NCC. The City of Ottawa collects no taxes for either of the tenants that house themselves in those buildings. And the City of Ottawa is responsible for maintenance of the street. So, kind of weird. But what has happened with the NCC is that all of the stuff they own on the south side, they've been amenable to businesses.
Yes.
Case in point, beer market. There's bars, restaurants, nightclubs, places that have opened up on the south side of the street that are not present on the north.
And this is literally just in the last 15 years because there was nothing going on that street after 4 p.m. Nothing.
Yeah, that's true. There was nothing after 4 p.m. But now, for people who live in the environment, in that environment and nearby, and there are a couple of residences built on Spark Street now.
Yep.
Or like one block south. So people are attending. They're going to the restaurants, to the bars. They're going to the there's
the Poutine Fest is there. There are festivals now.
That's
there are
right.
Events. There are gatherings there.
Thank you. There's things to do there now that there hadn't been. It had been largely neglected for the last 40 years, I'd say.
It was just like a nice place to go and sit on a bench. And if you were working in the district, like at the RBC, whatnot, you would have your lunch sitting on a bench on Spark Street. That was nice. But other than that, there was nothing going on.
Yeah, it had been empty and vacant largely for a long time. It used to be the
entire
high street for shopping.
My entire childhood until I was about 35. There was nothing going on there.
Yeah, and it was, when it first opened, it was the place to go for shopping. It was the high street. But it didn't do so well in the winter because, they started building suburban shopping malls. But it's really turned around. It's different now. And the Spark Street BIA has done a lot, and in cooperation with the NCC, and even now Parliament, which owns the north side of the street, is getting on board. So you can see the face of this city is changing, and it's also a much younger city than it used to be, and it's a significantly more diverse city than it once was, which is I'm all for. And I still hear lots of people say, "Oh, no, it's so boring. There's nothing to do." And then I talk to other people who go, "That's not true," and I'm one of those people. That's not true. There's always something happening.
Same here.
The difference between Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto is Ottawa is on the surface conservative.
Yes.
On the surface.
surface.
Whereas Montreal and Toronto, it's always in your face what's happening all the time, everywhere. It's always, and Ottawa is very buttoned down in that sense. But all the stuff is still happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you're not a member of something or a group of something or participate, and you won't know that things are happening. But trust me, they're always happening here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing I love about about it. And the way I always describe it too is because I remember I lived in Montreal for a little bit when I was 21, when I was going to dance school. And I'd tell people I come from Ottawa, and then you get a bunch of people going, "Oh, my sympathies. Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry."
like,
And it's like, why? It's absolutely great place. Uh, and it was like anything that you can do in Montreal, you can do in Ottawa. The thing
yeah.
is that when you're living in Montreal and you open, let's say, the cultural pages, the arts section on Friday or Thursday,
Mhm.
and you open it, there is 70,000 concerts to choose from because you have all the
Yes.
concerts in French because they have their own star system, and then you have all the concerts in English, and then because Ottawa's a major metropolitan, cosmopolitan international city, then you get all the concerts in any other language. When you have like Le Nuit d'Afrique concert, you get people
Mhm.
from Senegal, and I mean, they speak French, but you get from all over Africa and all over the world. You get to, I mean, it's Montreal is open to world culture when it
Mhm.
comes,
Oh, yes.
with all their festivals and everything. Um, so it was like, but in Ottawa, you open it, okay, there's maybe 2 concerts or 3 concerts that night instead of
Mhm.
30,
Yeah.
which actually made it so that I participated more in cultural stuff in Ottawa than Montreal, because Montreal, by the time I went through the whole La Presse and looked at everything I was pooped.
Yeah.
There
It's
was
like,
just
okay,
too much
it's
choice.
well, and for a downtown resident like myself, every now and then I'll be sitting in a restaurant, in somewhere off Elgin Street or on Elgin or something like that, and I'll sit down at a restaurant and I'll open it up and there'll be 2 pages, like literally. Here's the drinks menu. Here's the food menu.
Yep,
That's it. That's all you
yep.
need. 2 pages. And then there's inevitably a couple will come downtown to experience the city, when they very clearly live in either Orleans or Canada, because they're like, what? That's it? That's not. I'm like, oh, let me see. You go to Boston Pizza a lot, don't you? Or you go to any other of those chain restaurants where there's 30 pages of choices, which is way too much for a private, small, independent
Right.
restaurant. Number one, and number two, I'm overwhelmed. It's like there's too much to choose from here. I don't know what I want. Give me 4 items. That's enough. People go, really? Do you really like that? Well, yes,
Yes,
actually, I do.
I like the choice between more than 2 things, but don't give me 150 detergent brands to choose from in the aisle.
It's too
It's
much.
just
Well, and here's the other thing. It's the illusion of choice when you go to the grocery
right,
store, right?
exactly, because a lot of them are the
It's
same
like
product with different boxes.
I have 150 brands to choose from. Yeah, and there's 4 companies that make them. 4.
Yep,
That's
yep,
it. It's the illusion of
yep,
choice.
yep, exactly. Oh, man. So how about saying good morning to some kids? We have Kit Linda M with us. Kit Wishful Son, it's been a while since I've seen your name. Welcome back.
Mhm.
Lovely to see you. Kit Saucy Sea Witch, lovely to see you, Mama. Hope you're doing well. Kit Elaine, Kit Dan, who says, when Mateo said good morning, my dog's ears perked up. Oh, and Kit Linda M, I still don't know what your cat does. You mentioned it once. Every time Mr. Beaver's voice comes on or something, that damn cat or something. I don't know
Mm.
what they do. Let's see. Oh, we have Kit Hugh with us. Yes, oh, yes, somebody asked if there would be a strike, but he says, no, I'm OSSTF. We shot ourselves in the junk. Yeah, Kit Hugh is really not
So
happy with the deal there. His school board
school
made.
board signed?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yep. We need to talk to him about that at some point. If we can get his microphone working when we're on at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Let's see, what else do we have? Kit Tabby G. My early days, my family lived in LeBreton Flats before it was torn down. I remember it well. I remember when there was a urban campground in that area.
Yeah, that's only about 15 years ago they tore that
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
It was a shame they did
yeah.
that. There was no
No,
need
no
to.
need.
They could have
That
kept
was
it.
great. That was a super good
And
idea.
it still has one of the world's best whitewater parks.
Yes.
Like there is a whitewater kayak uh, um, a training
Oh
center
yeah,
built
yeah,
there,
yeah. The national,
right in LeBreton
yeah, the
Flats.
whole National Capital Region is one of like the 3 best whitewater rafting spots in the entire world.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like it's the best,
Oh yeah.
some of the best places for it. Yeah. Let's see what else we have here with us. We have Kit Jillian. Good morning to you. Lovely to see you, Miss Sadeka. The Daily Beaver. Good morning to you, good sir. And I think that's everybody that we have with the kid on the chat with us today. Right. Um, so
Oh, one more announcement.
okay.
Queensway is closed for the weekend. Bridge replacement here in Ottawa for those viewers in coming into town or working in town, it closes at 8 p.m. this evening, and it doesn't open until Monday morning. They're doing a bridge replacement at Percy, I believe it is.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so it closes at Carling Kirkwood, and it does not reopen until Tremblay Road, Riverside Drive terminal by the train station. So that's basically the entire downtown core is cut off from the Queensway this weekend.
All right.
How's the convoy going to work out for them?
Hey.
That is supposed to be this weekend, isn't it? It's supposed to be the 21st, which is tomorrow.
Starting to wonder if that was a little strategic construction planning. Because
it literally is supposed to be this weekend when they're going to convoy to the hill.
Yes.
Yeah, let me know how that works out when the Queensway is shut down.
Because I gotta admit,
it'll be bumper to bumper everywhere. Ain't happening.
I gotta admit, that's kind of the type of thing I would think of doing.
Yes,
oh, you're coming this weekend. Oh, look, construction. Oh.
Sorry, it happens. Just the way the plans work out sometimes.
Oh, well. Have fun protesting over the sound of the jackhammers.
Let us know how that works out for you.
But then again,
I have another piece of very good news. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Canada's Canada's Ocean Supercluster has sponsored this story, which is interesting. Canada has the potential to grow its sustainable ocean economy to $220 billion by 2035. So Ambition 2035 is an opportunity for ocean sectors and all those with a shared interest in growing the sustainable economy in Canada to work together towards transformational growth in ocean energy, seafood, ocean technology, marine transport, tourism and recreation, and public sector. But I don't know what the public sector is going to have to do with that exactly. But either way, 5 times growth means more new companies, more jobs, and advancing Canada's position as a leader in ocean worldwide.
Nice.
There's a link I'll put in the chat to that for anybody who's curious. Cluster.ca. First I heard of it.
It's funny. It's interesting that you meant. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because there was also something coming out, and I'm glad you mentioned it because it allows me to make the link with Atlantic Canada that they're talking about the offshore wind industry there. They're saying that it can make the region an energy superpower. That's pretty cool. Yeah. There's
especially if they can utilize the tides in the Bay of Fundy.
Yep, exactly. So the Ottawa-based think tank Public Policy Forum just put out a report called "Catching the Wind: How Atlantic Canada Can Become an Energy Superpower," and it highlights different places in the region, but it says, like, for example, the Sable Islands Bank alone could accommodate 1,000 offshore turbines, each with a capacity of 15 megawatts, which adds up to about 70,000 gigawatts an hour, enough to supply 6.5 million average Canadian homes, or almost twice the total electricity consumed in Atlantic Canada annually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Completely renewable too.
Completely renewable. We are and like 1 million. So basically a province of 1 million people could produce enough energy with just those 1,000 offshore turbines to supply 6.5 million average Canadian homes.
Well, and I say renewable energy. Is it renewable if it's the wind?
Yeah, good question. Because the wind just
can you qualify it as that? It's a green energy choice.
Yes, I'm not sure if it's called renewable, but definitely green. Yeah. So the report says we are talking here of something not incremental but monumental. The report also says that Canada is behind on utilizing the power on one of the world's longest and windiest coastlines. Right. We have that advantage. We should be using it. And there are no turbines either under construction or operating in its offshore waters. Other jurisdictions, including China, the United Kingdom, and the United States, have installed offshore wind turbines with plans to make further investments into offshore wind capacity. In fact, there are 30 nations that are ahead of us already in their ability. And we have the longest and windiest coastline. It's just sitting right there. And nobody's tapped it yet.
God.
Nobody's tapped it yet.
Look at this. Look at this. Oh my gosh.
Oh, by the way, there's also movement against wind farms here. It's the same group that cheered on the convoy. They are worried about vibrations and mental health damage. Oh, sweetie, that ship is past.
The mental health damage is already there.
Oh, poodles! I'm This just in.
Jesus Christ.
I believe the joke went when they said trains, you thought they said brains and you missed yours.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, that I'm sorry. Maybe that was cruel of me to have that just come out. I mean, there was like no reflex. I was interested. Oh, honey, that ship sailed. I didn't even finish the sentence.
Uh,
Maybe.
the pettiness really came out.
Oh, man. I think I need to be up an extra 5 minutes in the morning before I come on. Sort of have that tamped down. Gee.
Mm.
So back to the wind. We're talking about well, it's a nice segue. We're talking about wind, and you went to people who blow wind. So
Blow hard,
remove a lot of it. The
Mm.
number one source of hot air.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's terrible.
No, it's funny because it's
God.
true.
So they're talking a little bit again of something called the Atlantic Loop, which was supposed to be a really, really big project. That was supposed to expand electrical grid connections between Quebec and New Brunswick to Nova Scotia. So it was going to create a loop from Muskrat Falls in Labrador through the west side of Newfoundland down to Nova Scotia through Cape Breton Island, crossing into New Brunswick, dipping down a little bit into the States, and then going back up to Churchill Falls. That was going to be the loop. It seems that the loop is going to be they're going to start on it, but it's going to be a lot less ambitious to start with. It's just going to be between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick for the moment, because the costs of the project have risen a lot with the rise in interest rates over the last little bit. But it seems that they are going to start it at least on a smaller version, which is very interesting. To bring there's a quote here. To bring the offshore wind to market using a land-based loop like that, of course, is one pathway, but there's also been proponents saying to do direct offshore connection, which go over land, said Scott Urquhart, CEO and founder of Aegis Insights, a Danish software company that serves the offshore wind sector. Some of the firm's findings were cited in Nicholson's report. To find a route to market for offshore wind, it would be valid to actually study both pathways. A land-based loop would maybe serve other interests we're balancing with Quebec Hydro, but I wouldn't say that we've looked at the comparative economics of one route versus the other, Urquhart said. So yeah, there you go. Atlantic Canada, energy superpower, which, you know what, considering that frequently Atlantic Canada is the region that seems to have the less governments have made the least amount of effort of investing in for diversifying the economy.
Hmm. Hmm. And they should be making the most.
Right.
There was a time when they did.
Yeah. And Atlantic Canada, needs some opportunities that are not just like, pulling stuff out of the water. There's no reason for which there couldn't be a thriving high-tech sector in Atlantic Canada. There's no reason for which there couldn't be a sound stage somewhere in Halifax. There's no reason that maybe there is actually, because there's some good
I believe
robot
there is.
production out
They
there.
do a lot.
Yeah, there's no reason, so all of this stuff can happen there too, but you have to, if you have something like this would be a draw that would bring people. This would bring a lot of engineers, a lot of high-tech people, and then you can have all those commensurate industries, like when Ottawa made a concerted effort to do the Silicon Valley North part thing, in the Canada sort of area when that was building up. There's an opportunity here for Atlantic Canada to take up more room in the economy,
Well,
in the Canadian economy.
there's a million people in Nova Scotia now, and 500,000 of them reside in Halifax and the greater Halifax area. Halifax, Dartmouth. I'm discluding Dartmouth there. I don't get upset with me, Dartmouthians. Dartmouthians? I don't know. How would I say it?
I don't know.
Dartmouthers?
Dartmouthans?
Darters?
Darters.
Darters.
Ooh.
From the dart.
We have more beep, 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 beep. Breaking news. We have Kit Mateo news.
It's his birthday.
Yes, Mr. Deka. Mateo turns 6 tomorrow. Happy early birthday, my friend. We'll be celebrating with you, hopefully, with our podcast. And he's being a super grump right now. Ooh, even said he was going to leave the house, and he's rolling on the ground wrapped in a blanket.
He's burritoing. That's what you call him, burritoing. Yeah, burrito.
Mateo, my friend. No need to be so grumpy. tomorrow is a big day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Because this is your last day as a 5-year-old. You need to enjoy this day. It's very important. I hope you get in a better mood soon, my friend. Remember, you got lots of playing to do today. And remember, be good to your
Mm.
mom and dad and your sisters, okay? All right. We love you
Yeah.
very much. And hopefully we'll be able to sing happy birthday to you tomorrow when we do our show. Okay? Big hugs to you. Love that kid.
Mm. And I know Dartmouth doesn't like being called Halifax, and I know Halifax is like Haligonians, but Dartmouthians? I don't know, darts. I'm just gonna call them darts. I understand that. They're like, we're here too. Don't forget about us. It's like that's why it's called Ottawa Gatineau in the nation's capital.
Yes, indeed.
You know, those of us who live here say Ottawa Gatineau.
Yes, indeed.
People around the rest of the country don't even know Gatineau exists for the most part. I mean, it used to be called Hull.
Yes.
And I still refer to right across the river is Hull. Downtown Gatineau is Hull as far as I'm concerned, because Gatineau was in the east and Hull was directly to the north. And that's just the way it was for a century or so. Well, actually, because there were cottages along the Ottawa River in the Gatineau area for at least 100 years, easily. But yeah, I still call downtown Hull, where Place du Portage and Terrasse de la Chaudière is, and all of that. That's still Hull to me, because it's all it'll ever be to me.
Yep.
And going there, we'd finish our back when Ontario closed at 1 and Quebec was open till 3. We would finish at the bar. I'd finish DJing, and then we'd drive over to Hull.
Yep.
Or take a cab, or sometimes walk. It all depended, but yeah, just because I worked in the market, right? And then we just cross over, go to Hull, and hang out till 4 a.m.
Indeed.
Yeah, the life.
The life.
Shannery. Yes, the Shannery. I used to DJ there.
Yeah. All right. In the news, my friends, there's a lot going on, but we'll start with the Canada-India thing, because we haven't talked about it for a while. It seems that the government of India had issued to Canada an order to remove about 40 of its diplomats from the country. And that deadline came and went, and the government of Canada did not do that. It's like, no. And then the government of India did something that our Minister of Foreign Affairs considered and labeled as being as being potentially dangerous. And that is, they threatened to unilaterally lift the diplomatic immunities that those diplomats enjoyed. A direct violation of the Vienna Convention.
Yeah, that's
They're
a problem.
breaking international law. So basically, if they would have removed the diplomatic immunities, that would have made all those diplomats immediately at risk of prosecution and imprisonment. So it's basically setting the stage for what China did with the two Michaels.
Yeah.
I guess, but with our diplomats, not with just citizens. That's nearly unprecedented action for a country to take against Canada, especially a country that considers itself to be a democracy, especially a country with which we've had friendly relations for quite a while.
A long time.
Yes. Now, this is a cartoonish overreaction to what has happened, because let us remind you once again that when the Prime Minister received this information, it was communicated to the government of India through diplomatic channels quietly. Weeks before the Prime Minister went to India for the G20 summit. Then the Prime Minister went to India for the G20 summit, and rather than make a big statement at the table in front of everyone that the government of India did not see coming, he had a conversation with Modi, at which he shared that information, in which a normal country who was doing right by other countries would usually be expected to say, oh my God, we must have a rogue element in our security services that we need to address. Thank you, Canada, for letting us know, and thank you, Canada, for letting us know discreetly so that we can handle this. And as we are good friends, we will look into this and get back to you. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. We got the full blast. We got the China treatment. our prime minister being insulted and called all sorts of names. And, well, you know, the current Indian government is very conservative and an IDU member, and the government of India is not adverse to using the press system the way that Pierre Poliver says that the Liberals use it here in order to put out their message du jour. So that's how we got articles, for example, claiming that the Prime Minister's plane was delayed because there was so much cocaine on it. So much cocaine. Well, Canada is the land of snow, right? So much cocaine. Which, of course, was ridiculous, but that didn't stop the Toronto Sun from publishing it. Just being happy propagandists here, and useful idiots. And so we're sitting there going like, what the hell is this? And then they go and they say, yeah, now your diplomats got to go, and we're going to remove their diplomatic immunities if you don't go. So this is clearly a totally disproportionate reaction to what was going on. And I mean, it certainly isn't the reaction of a nation that's saying we have nothing to hide and yeah, we're completely innocent in this. That's not the reaction you would expect. So why are we having a cartoonish overreaction? Well, it seems that in early November, like in not even 3 weeks, there is a general election in India.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, because India is a very, very, very big country, general elections in India don't take place over just one day.
No, it takes a bit because it's 1.5 billion people.
And they have to do it in several regions. And I think they divide the country into 5 different zones, and they have the elections in there. They elect 543 MPs. With using first past the post voting system.
Only 543?
543.
I say, look, we have 338 and we're 40 million people. They're 1.5 billion. So
yeah,
their constituency offices must be huge. Just do the math,
yeah,
right?
I know.
The average office is 10 million people.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's amazing.
More than that. 20 million.
Yep. Now, it seems that there are tons of parties in India, but for all the parties that there are, and we're talking like over at least 30 parties that I know of.
They have the Westminster system too, do they not?
Yep, they do.
Okay.
For all of those parties, and this one I found interesting because we hear this a lot when people talk about the people that are just like really fully in the bag for proportional representation. You can't talk to them whatsoever about anything else. Nothing else exists, right? They always say like this, well, when we have all these parties, then everybody will be able to vote for their thing, right? And everybody will be able to have their identity, and all these parties will get their various seats, and then everybody will have to work together collaboratively. So you have these 30 parties, and all of them, except for a few, because there are a few more, maybe there's like 34 or however more, but let's say, but out of all the parties, there are 30 of them. And in those 30, they have divided themselves into 2 groups. 2 groups. You got the NDA alliance that includes the ruling BJP party. And then you have the INDIA, India Alliance, which is an alliance of 28 different parties. That's led by the Indian National Congress. So all those parties, and you basically come down to a two-party system race, 2 blocks. So I keep on saying, it's like, it doesn't matter what system you have, whether it's first past the post, proportional representation, or preferential ballot. This probably preferential ballot is probably your better one in this case then. Is because eventually, even if you have 30 parties on the proportional, they still find a way to gather themselves up into just 2.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and you're fighting for supremacy within your movement.
Yeah,
and then the 2 movements fight each other like this, but you still end up, for all intents and purposes, down to a 2-party system.
You said movement.
So
it was funny. I had to go there.
So, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I have made a mistake here, because it says
Oh
the
my
next
goodness
Indian
gracious.
general election is expected to be held in India between April and May 2024 to elect the 8 members of the 18th Lok Sabha. But here, the Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly elections are happening on November 17th, 2023. So I guess there are 2 different type of elections here. I don't know what this is, but there is an election going on. It isn't the general election. Madhya Pradesh, I'm guessing it's one of the regions
Hmm.
in the area. But yeah, uh, so that's the first thing. There's an election, number one. So all of this moving of wind and disproportion is all for public consumption.
Oh yeah.
Because according to the polls in India, if I understood correctly, because they're kind of hard to understand, but if you take both alliances, um, the incumbent alliance is in the lead, but only by 2.6% in a poll that has a 3% margin of error.
Wow.
So not only is there an election, but it's very, very close. And potentially, at least there's a very real risk that they might lose it. Oh, well, now all of a sudden this is starting to make sense, isn't it?
Hmm.
Once again, Canada, the smallest member of the G7, becomes, in true Communist Party of China style, the chicken that India is choking to scare the monkey. I know I said
Sorry,
choke.
you
I
said
know
choke the
I did it
chicken.
on purpose.
I thought so. I'm like you, that
Sometimes,
had to be
yes,
intentional.
sometimes you need to kill the chicken to scare the monkey, or to keep the monkey in line. Is the proverb? But yeah, sometimes you need to choke the chicken. To keep, anyway, but yes, apparently we are the chicken whose neck is being squeezed in order for India to send a message to any other nations who might want to decide to be a little uppity and embarrass Modi somehow.
Hmm.
All right. So one of the main, uh, our Minister of Foreign Affairs quoted as saying, a unilateral revocation of diplomatic privilege and immunities is contrary to international law. It is a clear violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. If we allow the norm of diplomatic immunity to be broken, no diplomats anywhere on the planet would be safe. So for this reason, yeah, we will not reciprocate. Oh, we are going
Definitely.
so high right now. But in international tables, like at the international poker table where everybody's cheating, that was Canada just standing up at the table and saying, just so you know, we're better than you.
Hmm.
That comment's going to hurt. It sounds so innocuous. For this reason, we will not reciprocate. But yeah. Jeez. It's, oh man. So yeah, good for our minister. Now, of course, if we were to get into some type of big diplomatic war with India, India definitely has more clout. So we have friends, yes, that we can contact, coordinate with, but on a one-on-one basis, like, let's say India just decides, you know what, all those lentils we take from you, well, we're not going to take them anymore. We'll go get them from somewhere else. That creates a big effect here. We saw it with China when they were, trying to cut our canola, but they really needed our pork, though, right? When they had that big holiday coming on and there was a world shortage of pork. Oh, then China was our friend
Hmm.
for those few weeks. We see you. Um, yeah, this thing, what people are worried about. Well, she basically said, to keep going, we just heard the official explanation there, of course, which is that because India's actions violate the Vienna Convention, Canada doesn't want to engage in that kind of behavior. We're not going to sort of get down on that same level with India because that would expose other diplomats to danger. But of course, Canada could retaliate within the Vienna Convention, said the minister. Um, So that is kind of interesting. Uh, it says that every control has control. For example, when she's talking about retaliating within the Vienna Convention, every country has control of the number of foreign diplomats that they accept from every other country. So Canada theoretically could retaliate by declaring a certain number of Indian diplomats persona non grata, and then they would also have to leave Canada. But that, of course, would cause further escalation. So, and because the cost of escalation would probably be higher for Canada than for India, the going high is probably our smarter option anyway at this moment.
One would think.
Yes. Now, for example, some of the ways India can retaliate, another way, for example, is restricting Indian international students from coming to Canada because a lot of our provincial premiers have become lazy and decided not to fund our colleges and universities at the rate at which they should be, and are just relying on the fact that international students will pay so much more in order to fund, and they're actually using that to make up the shortfall. And recently, with the labor shortages, many provincial premiers have changed the rules with regard to where and how many hours foreign students can work.
Hmm.
Like, for example, I believe that you used to be able to work on campus or like really near around and not more than 10 hours a week or 12 hours a week or something. And that got more than doubled, and that they could work pretty much anywhere when we had that shortage, which has led to certain situations of international students being exploited. For example,
Just a little
yeah,
bit.
I've heard of some people that work at the en route stations in Ontario. They're
I've
the
met
rest
them.
stops who work 12-hour shifts, and their employers schedule them. And if they have tests or exams or anything, or even a class, they don't care. So they come all the
Yeah.
way over here. They pay their tuition. They're working to pay their rent and all that kind of stuff. And then the employer says, "Well, yes, I understand that you're here on a student visa, but really this is a work program, and you were here for me. So yeah, you don't." Whatever, if your studies are
Mhm.
going to get in the way of this job. Some of them even just deny them outright permission to go. Some people even miss exams. Nope, sorry, you got to. They'll schedule
It's
the exams. They'll schedule them work during their exams. Too bad, so sad.
well, it's a terrible setup, and it's how they got around. Remember the temporary foreign worker fiasco from a bunch of years
Mhm.
back, where fast food joints were hiring temporary foreign workers and paying them less than minimum
Mhm.
wage and making them travel. Okay, you have to stay in this
Yep.
house, and I don't care how you get here, just
Yeah,
get
with
here.
14
I
other
mean, it was
people.
brutal what they were doing.
Yep. You gotta stay in this.
And that was under the Conservative government. But correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that Harper did make changes to that because they realized what was
Yeah, they
going
had
on.
to, but those changes were brought in by you know who? Bumbles Kenny. He was the head of the temporary
Oh, yeah.
foreign worker program at that
That's
time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he instituted that
Oh
policy.
god, like I keep on saying, I have no idea how that man became a star. Only in conservative circles in that particular
Yeah.
ecosphere that they've created for themselves could a man with so few accomplishments like Jason Kenney for 20
Mhm.
years be upheld as a star. He was a star. They've created their own star system. I believe that
Well,
that's what's going on in the United States with the Republicans right now. It's like they care more about
look at
getting
Skippy.
clicks, Skippy. They care more about getting on TV. They care more about that than governing. Yes, and
They don't want to
because
govern.
and they've got in the States, they've got their Fox News and their OAN, and they wanna get
Mhm.
there, and if they become popular, well, then they write a book, and while in a country of 330,000,000 or so, well, there's always gonna be about 1,000,000 who will be willing to buy your book. If you're
Yeah.
willing to say so you can live off that and the bumper stickers and the merch and
Mhm.
so, hey, it's like, heck, I don't even have to govern, I don't even have to win the election.
That's what it boils
I
down to.
can just, like, go on TV and say outrageous stuff, and Fox and Newsmax will put me on, and then I can fundraise off that and call myself a victim, and then so this is what's going on right now. Like this,
Mhm.
there's a little conservative star system here in Canada with all the 90% of our media being pro con. Well, if you
Explain
want to
to
be on the
me
front page, you have to ingratiate yourself to the people who put you on those front pages, don't you?
That's how it works. You are a puppet for the oligarchs that run you. I mean, how the hell is Pierre Poilievre the leader of the Conservative Party? The man has done nothing in 20 years. One piece of legislation, and it was struck down because it was undemocratic. It was an enemy of democracy, his Fair Elections Act. There was nothing fair about it. It was designed to get more votes for the Conservative Party and screw everybody else. There was nothing fair about it at all. This man does not know how to play fair. This man does not know how to govern, nor does he want to. He
Yep.
only wants power and control. He wants to rule. He does not want to govern.
Yep, exactly. So as it pertains to India, out of the 62 diplomats who were in India prior to this, we're going to be left with only 21 on the ground. And of course, there is now issues with India not necessarily denying, but super slow walking, maybe, visa applications from Canadians. So we have Indian Canadians who have lots of family there who would like to go back and whatnot. Well, now they can't get visas. So that's another little point of pressure that they're doing to trying to get the Indo-Canadian community upset at our prime minister so that they would turn against them, which would be direct interference.
Direct foreign interference.
Yeah, wouldn't it be? So there's only 21 on the ground of 62 with their dependents. 41 are leaving, and they have about 46 dependents with them. So 87 people gone, and 21 are remaining with an unclear number of dependents. So that means Canada's only going to be operating consular services out of its High Commission in New Delhi, because previously there would have been 4 other locations where Canadians in trouble in India could have gone to if they needed. But again, that's moot because India stopped issuing visas altogether. So there'll be fewer in the country and less demand for those other services.
And the consulate in New Delhi, the Canadian compound, is the largest Canadian diplomatic mission in the world. I've been there. The compound is huge. It's massive. It is.
Yeah.
It's impressive. and yeah, it's the largest in the world. It's the largest foreign mission in the world.
Yeah. And then it seems that the other fear is that there might be some economic retaliation, but it seems that the government of India has come out over the last, since I went to bed anyway, and the time I woke up, to say that no, they weren't looking at that type of thing. They don't want to escalate in that area. So that's interesting. We do supply a good portion of the lentils that India does import,
1.5 billion from Saskatchewan. Cassie was saying.
Yeah, and it's a staple there. So that would probably create some problems, especially since we mentioned also a few months ago that the price for all rice pretty much in India, except for the basmati and stuff, which is not really a staple over there, but is very much exported here. But all those, the price of rice the inflation on that had gone up a lot too. So if the price of rice, which is a basic staple, is really up, they can't afford to have shortages on lentils as well, and especially again going into a regional election. But it seems that it seems that I would take that if I was listening strategically as an admission that's like, yeah, we know what we're doing this. We know that we're overreaching. So yeah, don't worry, we'll go there. And yeah, this is definitely for public consumption. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But they are, let's put it this way. Some people are describing it as like this may be India's, now that it has bigger population than China, and some people are saying that China might be starting a decline and India is going to start a great expansion, mainly because their population is younger. That India is a nation to watch, and it's sort of starting to take its place at again, that expression that Bo uses all the time, the international poker table where everybody's cheating, that they've made it to the big table. But they're not used yet to playing at the big table. There are some unwritten rules that the other players that have been at the big table for quite a while, sort of like looking at, you're new here, aren't you? Because, we don't do that at this table. You may do that at all those lower tables that you came from, but we don't do that at this table.
Right.
Now, yes, we do that at this table, but we don't do that at this table. So it's like if you're going to play that card, be damn sure.
I have to head into the office shortly. Do you want to keep rolling, and I can pick up from there when I get there?
Yeah, I will keep rolling.
Okay. I do have a video clip I want to share though quickly.
Yes,
please. It's a few minutes, but it's from a friend of mine, a buddy, Doug, is his name, and well, just Dean reposted this. I saw this clip a couple of days ago. Dean reposted it, and I thought, well, let's just, I wanted to put this on yesterday, but I was not feeling well, so let's have a look at what Doug has to say about the lack of popularity for Pierre Poilievre.
I like this.
Well,
one.
here's a story, a news story that I thought I should get out in front of before I hear about it in my comment section, because I'm about to, I'm sure. Came out today from Angus Reid Institute, one of Canada's premier polling companies. Their bias is that they lean right towards conservatives, but they're factual. They're very factual. Their scientific methods of polling is top-notch. So no disputing the numbers. They polled 1,800 Canadians across all the provinces and territories, all the political parties, and they came up with the majority of Canadians think Trudeau should step down before the next election. They couldn't come up with who should replace him, but they did. Canadians did feel that the majority of Canadians think that Justin Trudeau should step down. Interesting. I'm a devil for details, and the details are interesting. So that's where I like to go. So I actually went to the Angus Reid poll results and dove into the details, not the headline, but the details. Let's see what some of them say, shall we? Well, here's one. This is favorability of leader Pierre Poilievre. His favorability, the blue line, was at 35% when he took office as the leader of the official opposition in Canada, September 2022. His favorability now is at 37%. Basically, what Angus Reid has said in there, shown little variation since Poilievre took office as leader of the Conservatives last fall. So he has made, on a personal level, Pierre. I know there's a lot of Pierre is rocking it. Pierre is killing it. Go Pierre. Vote Pierre. I'm all for Pierre. Really, the numbers for Pierre, he's been on an ad campaign for the last year on the taxpayer's dime, traveling from coast to coast to coast with his Trumpian-style rallies, campaigning to be the next prime minister. There's no election. Some would say it's illegal, what he's doing, but I guess Elections Canada says it's legal. So he's been, meanwhile, while Justin Trudeau's been dealing with a world in turmoil and trying to get Canada through it, Pierre's been going across the country campaigning for a year. And after a year of campaigning, his number really hasn't moved much. Devil's in the details. Now this was right out of the Angus Reid report. It's in there. Go read it. I suggest you do. The whole thing, not just the headline. This is the favorability and unfavorability by province on Pierre Poilievre. This is what I think is most interesting when people say Trudeau's done. You see, this is Ontario and this is Quebec. 54% very, very unfavorable for Pierre Poilievre in Quebec. And in Ontario, it's 48%. In Atlantic Canada, it's 54%. The reason why I'm pointing out these two provinces is because 23 million Canadians live in those two provinces, Ontario and Quebec. It's where the West says the election, by the time it gets to Manitoba, the election's over. Well, that's because there's 23 million people in Ontario and Quebec, and a lot of seats. And Pierre is not doing very well in those two provinces. So he's made no gains nationally in his favorability liking, and he is highly, highly unfavorable in Quebec and in Ontario. This is going to be interesting. This is why you can't just read the headline. You have to get into the details of the article or the poll. And what do the polls say? This is the total. Pierre's unfavorability nationally is almost 50%. So as a leader, he's not the be-all and the end-all. Maybe it's because he eats apples while he's talking to people. I don't know. It's interesting. I know I'm going to hear about it, and I'm going to retort with the details. Have the day you deserve.
I love Douglas. He's always have the day you deserve. I love that.
I like it. It's exactly it. The devil's in the details, digging down into the data to find the story. I like it. Yeah. So it's what I'm saying. Remember when I said a few weeks ago that, yes, when you start seeing polls with 11, 12%, 13% margin like this, you need to be concerned. You need to look at that. But also that when you have a 4-year sort of session between governments, there literally is, unless people have decided really early in the term that this is definitely going to be a change election next time around, there is no poll that ultimately proves itself to be more relevant than the end of summer midterm poll. That's usually where people will kick the tires.
Oh, yes.
And start looking at other parties and seeing, and then they'll settle in. And sometimes even we've seen this often in many elections that one party has a lead, and then the election writ comes. You get closer to the election writ date, and then both parties end up tied, and then you start from there. Also, that happens a lot in Canada. So
I keep seeing. I'm going to say they're bots because a lot of them are going, oh yeah, look at these numbers. Pierre Paul, was super, and they're going, I'm super popular, this and that, and he'd win a majority if the election were held today. Here's the thing. The election is 2 years away. I don't give a shit about polls today. They're completely meaningless. They mean nothing. They mean less than nothing because the election is 2 years away. 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me in 2 years.
Yep.
Right now, I don't give a damn. I really don't care. And I'm not a fan of polls to begin with. And I think they should be disallowed 6 months before, or at an absolute minimum. Once the writ is dropped, that's it. No more polling information released to the public.
Yep. And we have
because it sways elections as it did in Ontario.
Yep.
Doug Ford's going to win. Well, why do I even bother to vote?
Yep. And we have some kids going, well, it's Angus Reid, and then it's Angus Reid. So that's Kit Ellen and Kit PNC bio. Angus Reid typically overweights the cons. So this is good, but expected. Exactly. Because, right. And I mentioned it too, Angus Reid, it's, how do you put it? I take Angus Reid a little less seriously than Doug Scott. Or was it Doug? I saw Scott Douglas. I'm not sure if he inverted his name or not, but as the gentleman does, and even 338 does, because they have ratings for polls like this. And Angus Reid doesn't even get an A. I think they're a B+ or something for the quality of their polling is rated by 338 as being. But when you do get an Angus Reid poll that shows conservatives not doing as well as everyone thinks they are, because it tends to lean heavily conservative, that is a signal that you need to look at. So that's, again, it's, you have to know how to read an Angus Reid poll. Okay. But if you do, you can get some stuff out of it.
Okay, I got to run into the office.
Absolutely.
I'll reconnect when I'm there, so I'll see you shortly.
Okay, excellent. All right. Let's see what else do we have here? Kitlinda M. I suspect that when more people are paying attention as the election is close, Pierre will be turning off even more. I would assume so. And it seems here, I've noticed, because I talked about it a little bit the other day, but I'm starting to wonder if they have pretty much said, you know what, this makeover thing is not working. I mean, it worked for the temporary bump, but it can't be sustained because Pierre is who Pierre is. So how about instead we lean into the dickishness, make it a feature instead of a bug. And I'm thinking that's what they may have been doing with that "how do you like them apples" thing. um, because there's no way you can look at that and say, hey, this is a great look for our leader. So it must be that, you know what, when he does this kind of thing, people send us a lot of money. So let's just lean into that. And, it's like he's starting to get some attention stateside now, which is, I'm sure something that he loves. I'm sure Pierre Poilievre would love nothing better than to talk to Canadians through American television rather than Canadian television through American media. I'm sure he'd rather go on Fox and get that kid glove treatment and then have the clips of that go all throughout the internet and promote himself that way than actually going on CBC. Right? But yeah, it's slightly disturbing, and I'm hoping that this pace is not sustainable. But it really does seem to be that, you know what, just we can't soften you up, so let's just have you be a dick and let's repackage that as you being forceful and standing up and being a heavy hitter and Trump-like. If somebody punches you, you punch back 10 times as hard, and that type of thing. We'll see if it works for him. It's definitely way more authentic than what they were trying for. The thoughtful, analytical family man. Well, kind of blew that out of the water when he couldn't compare price of a turkey between 2 years. And even that video he did the other day at Mr. Upple's business, part of the framing of that video was, why does the government think it's better to sell assets to strangers than to members of your own family? And I was like, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, bitch, the wheat board? Wasn't there a consortium of Canadian farmers who were looking to pull themselves together to be able to buy the wheat board when Harper said that he really, really, really wanted to get rid of it? And instead of selling it to Canadians, he sold it to the Saudis. Yeah, Poindexter sure didn't have much to say about keeping it in the family when it came to that, eh? Or anything else that they sold off. Sell off Stevie. Whenever they sliced a little bit of Canada off that leg and served it on a plate with a couple of sides for someone else to buy, someone that didn't live in Canada. Oh yeah, Pierre really cared about bringing it home or keeping it in the family then, did he? Keep it in the family so we can bring it home from nowhere because it never left within the family, apparently. It's a slogan. Yes. Yes, I'm seeing the kids here. He doesn't have the charisma. Daily Beaver, PP is stage 4 syphilis in a girdle. Ooh, ouch. Ouch. Whoa. Hugh says Angus Reid is calling landlines. This should be frightening to PP. Hadn't thought of that. But yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, interesting developments there with and we'll see what will come from that. But I'm just noticing, a little bit of a switch, that it seems more that rather than trying to fight it, they're going to try to lean in on it. Since we're talking about disasters, let's talk a little bit about the meth lab south of us in the United States. I technically could be wearing my Christmas hat today because, kids, we have a flipper. They called her Flipper. And that flipper is none other than the Kraken lady herself. Trump lawyer Sidney Powell. Yes. Fani Wellness, the Attorney General, I believe it is, the AG for the state of Georgia, started out with 19 And now she's down to 17 because, yes, a second person has flipped. Sidney Powell pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanors for conspiring to intentionally interfere with the performance of election duties. She will serve 6 years of probation, pay a $6,000 fine, and write an apology letter to Georgia and its residents. Now, this sounds like a really sweet deal. But she has also agreed to testify truthfully against her co-defendants in future trials. She was Trump's lawyer. She was part of the team in particular that went down to Coffee County to look at those voting machines. They had them open and basically destroyed and defaced, and they basically stole the information from it and copied it and distributed it. Yeah, I think that she saw the writing on the wall. I know. Sidney Powell, of course, being a lawyer, first of all, asked for early speedy trial along with Kenneth Chesbrough, and she got it. And the judge said that their trials were going to be done together. And the advantage of going early is you're the first one that gets to point fingers. And if you have your own separate trial, well, none of the lawyers from any of the other co-defendants in the conspiracy are there to cross-examine you. So it seems that when Chesbrough saw that, then Sidney Powell said, "Hey, yeah, that's a really good idea as a lawyer. Actually, that was probably I should probably do that." And then she did. And of course, a lawyer would know that the sweetest deal goes to those who flipped first. And well, one person, Scott Hall, had already flipped. He was the bail bondsman involved in this. So she's second. Now, of course, her being much higher up and way closer to Trump because she was his personal lawyer spearheading this whole thing, or one of the spearheads of this thing. She has information that was very valuable, and she was in a lot of rooms when things happened, and a lot of things that she's going to relate are not hearsay. I was there when it happened. This is my witness testimony. So that should be really, really interesting. As a special condition of her sentence, she has to prove that she's provided all documents and evidence subject to any lawful privileges asserted in good faith prior to entering the plea. Her cooperation is the most immediate threat to the former president because it will be the first real opportunity to hear from a key player in Trump's inner circle, as I was saying. And you'll get to hear about what Trump was thinking in the days between him losing the election and the assault on the Capitol. The deal is extremely helpful to special counsel Jack Smith. Now, it doesn't mean that she has to testify for Jack Smith, but in his case that he launched, she is so far unindicted co-conspirator number 3. So at some point, we assume that those unindicted co-conspirators will be indicted. So she could help her case, and if she's willing to go on the stand and testify against Trump in this Georgia case, there's no legitimate reason for which she should not want to do that also on the federal case. I mean, whatever she says in the Georgia case, well, it's standing under oath in a court of law. So, I mean, it's not like Jack Smith couldn't just take the transcript and say, well, somebody testified, said this under oath about you. And that could be used. But of course, you could bring her in and have her say it herself. That would be even much more effective now, wouldn't it? So while she's not obligated to cooperate with Jack Smith, in real politic terms, there's very little reason for which she should not at this case. Because, I mean, if you're testifying against in Georgia, in for a penny, in for a pound, especially with Trump, I mean, you slight him once and right, he'll turn on you immediately. So this will be definitely an interesting move. Now, you have to remember, like, she was really up there in the middle of this. She was the one that suggested, for example, that those voting machines were somehow rigged by deceased Venezuelan ruler Hugo Chavez. Yes, apparently he came back from the dead to fix the machines to make sure that Trump lost. Yeah. I think, you know what? Is somebody keeps on saying when people commit stupid crimes, and you sit there and you go, why do people commit stupid crimes? It's like, it's because they seriously, really, 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 really do not believe that they would ever get caught. Well, that was a bold move. So yeah, she has flipped, and it seems that for Alan Weisselberg, who was Trump's financial guy for Trump's business, he got a really, really, really sweet deal. Like very sweet deal. I think like 5 months for all the crimes he had committed. Well, it seems that he may not have been entirely honest about his testimony, which is a big no, 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 no when you've made a deal, because the deal is to, like, you really are telling the full truth and you are leaving nothing out. No sins of omission. And it seems that, well, he's now standing accused of lying on the stand. In the Attorney General's office in New York has filed a letter saying that they have identified likely omissions and documents provided by the defendants. And that's not a good thing because that can land them back in jail. And the same will apply to her if she testifies and isn't completely truthful about everything. The old charges get reinstated. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then that's the sort of like the Trump legal stuff. But the other thing, of course, is the speaker's vote in the House because, well, the House can't function. And here's the thing, right? The Republicans, there's two things they love to wrap themselves up in. They love to wrap themselves up in the flag and the military and the veterans and all that valor. They just love wrapping themselves in all of that. But the other thing that they really, I mean, and this is, they they can't avoid it, as, right, the Constitution, right? How many of them say that they carry a little copy of the Constitution like this in the inside of their jacket pocket, right close to their heart, so they can look at it and remind themselves that they love their country so much at any time? Well, Jim Jordan has been saying that he's going to keep on fighting, and he lost the second speaker vote by more than he lost the first. And they said, well, we'll do it again tomorrow. And then something came out that there's the continuing resolution that they have, which was set there for 45 days. And then they can't do anything at all. And the one thing that they can't do, and this is, I should say, there's three things that they wrap themselves up in. The third one is Israel, right? The GOP always tries to make the point because that they're the better friend of Israel than the Democrats. Just like the conservatives are doing that here in Canada. They're repeatedly trying to paint the government as anti-Semitic. Repeatedly. And I'll have an example of that for you in a couple of minutes. But right now, the Republicans can't even get their shit together long enough to elect a speaker so that they can vote a package for Israel, the nation for whom they'll do anything, pretty much. Some people even wonder if they're willing to do more for Israel than they're willing to do for the United States with this particular bunch. That's a whole other discussion. When the Republicans are in so disarray that they can't get themselves together when there is an actual war in Israel to be able to vote on a package, because no votes are happening, there is something really, really, really messed up, because you think that would be enough to make them snap it to attention and say, you know what, guys, we need to settle this, but they can't. So what was supposed to happen is that what was announced yesterday was that Jim Jordan was not going to go for another round right away, and that they were going to give each other some time. So the Speaker pro tem right now, Patrick McHenry, was going to be granted some additional powers, something to which Jim Jordan, for some reason, is objecting, even though Jim Jordan wants this to happen. He just doesn't want Patrick McHenry to somehow have more powers, I'm guessing. And he would be the Speaker pro tem for a decent amount of time, I think, like up until early November or something, which would give Jim Jordan apparently more time to work behind the scenes to try and get the votes. People don't like him. He doesn't have the votes. And it's not just the it's not just the older Republicans, it's some of the younger Republicans. When I mentioned yesterday that they don't think that they can trust him to actually properly fund defense, it's some of the younger Republicans that are feeling that, not the older ones. So he's not a particularly good fundraiser. He's way too bombastic for the job. People don't trust him, and he's not particularly well liked. He doesn't really have a chance unless something happens. There's some intervention, but he's going to keep on trying to work at it. That was the plan yesterday afternoon. And I'm thinking, wow, you just got to kick it down the road. So that CR thing is still in the background. There's less than a month to go before you have to renew it, or else the United States stops paying its bills and you don't have a speaker. And there are wars going on, and there are packages that need to be voted on, but you guys can't get it together. I don't think it's going to get better. And I guess Jim Jordan came to that same conclusion because sometime between the time that was announced yesterday, that they were going to take a certain number of days, and a good chunk of days, to be able to try to see if they could work behind the scenes with the pro tem leader. No, he's going to have a vote again today, the third round. Completely. These people do not know if they're coming or going. A strategy, a procedure, a plan of action doesn't hold for even 12 hours before they flip it all over again. It's a mess. It's a total and complete and utter mess. Man. And also, regarding the orange one, federal judge Tanya Chutkan had imposed a gag order. Now, a gag order, if you can call it a gag order, it's extremely limited. It's limited to things that Trump would say about prosecutors, witnesses, and court staff, which means that Trump can still say whatever the hell he pleases about the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, and Judge Tanya Chutkan herself. That's about as narrow a gag order as could possibly have been imposed. This guy should be in jail for the number of times he's violated pretrial release conditions. And remember, these are called pretrial release conditions. He should be on jail. It's there, but for the grace of the court that he is not at the moment. Even on the documents case, remember there was that guy that took some documents and I think it was disseminated them over some type of online gaming platform. He was detained as soon as they arrested him. He's been in jail. But Trump is still free and he's still campaigning. So there really are two tiers of justice. And maybe the third one, there seems to be a special one when you've been a former president. So, yeah. So while they're all sitting there like this, oh my God, my First Amendment rights, and this judge is being so like literally, he's still allowed to say terrible things about the judge herself. I'm not sure how many times he's got to violate these orders before someone finally detains him. But this guy's got no impulse control. He's just going to keep doing it. Somebody just needs to make an example. It's like, you didn't think I was going to do it? Well, there, watch this motherfucker. Oh, surprise, your ass is in jail overnight. Yeah. Maybe next time you'll think a couple of times before you run that mouth. I am the judge who'll do it. I am the judge who will put your ass in jail. Somebody's got to say it. Now, there's been an interesting strategy from the Democrats. You know how we mentioned that Trump couldn't post on Twitter because that would pretty much destroy Truth Social? And he did do one tweet. Eventually, he tweeted out his mugshot saying never surrender on the day. He actually literally surrendered. Marketing genius this man is. Well, it seems that Biden or Team Dark Brandon is returning the favor because it seems that they have started posting on Truth Social. Oh, yes. It seems that there are so many clips of Republicans saying terrible things about each other. And a commandment back in the days of Ronald Reagan, they used to joke about it, that it was the 11th commandment, that Republicans never say anything bad about other Republicans while there are cameras or while the tape is rolling. Well, that sure went by the wayside. Now that group, as we keep on saying, it's like the mafia, but without the loyalty. So they have all these clips, and apparently it seems that the Democrats are taking them and they're posting these clips on Truth Social of Republicans saying nasty things about other Republicans. Now, of course, there's pretty much only Republicans on Truth Social, so that makes it so that they end up fighting each other when they put it out there. About who's more pure, who's the bigger believer, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it seems that the strategy is to try to get them publicly fighting with each other on Truth Social itself, to try to make it implode a little bit. And it seems that that's because for the Republicans, it seems that social media, and for conservatives, is real life, that clicks and those types of engagement is actually real life. It's not. Twitter is not real life. It just isn't. It seems that they have taken that combative nature into their party meetings. There are reports that they have been engaged in screaming matches with each other during meetings yesterday. Matt Gaetz getting up and McCarthy telling him, "You sit down." And it almost came to blows again. Because if you remember, well, the last time when that speaker vote went 14 rounds or 15 rounds, there was one time where somebody promised, I think, that they were going to vote yes and then voted no at the last minute. And then somebody came up the aisle and they were about to punch them. And some people had to intervene and put bodies in between them. They literally can't stand each other. Pass the popcorn, sweeties. Pass the popcorn. This is the stuff we've been waiting for. Fight, 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 fight. Everybody, all of you Republicans, it's like they're sitting there like, you, me, by the swings, 4 o'clock beer. You're so dead. It's literally, it's like they said, it's the high school from which nobody ever graduates. That's the GOP right now. And I'm here for it. I am so here for it. And I'm hoping that's going to happen with the Conservative Party as well here in Canada and the Conservative movement. I'm just so here for it. Pass the popcorn, give me extra butter, and don't give me a napkin. I'm going to lick that stuff off my fingers. Oh, no. It's just all that buttery goodness. All right. A little bit. I know we talked about it a lot, but we have to talk about it because it's the big thing. A little bit of what's going on in Israel. President Biden has managed to convince Israel to turn the water back on into Gaza. That would be nice. Kind of helps. And there are things going on. The battle's spilling out. I don't know if you heard about it, but in the United States, there was a landlord who basically murdered a 6-year-old boy. We can't do that. We can't allow the tensions that are there to infect the way we live here. That's just a no-go. The battle, there's more fronts, right? Because there's not just Hamas, there's Hezbollah. Both of them are backed by Iran, and both are designated as terrorist entities by the Canadian government. But Hezbollah is far more powerful and dangerous. It's also a key player in Lebanon's government, and well, we know that that's a mess over there too. And Hezbollah has about an army of about 100,000 fighters. And they have missiles, and they're accurate enough. And, well, they claim that they're armed with missiles that are powerful and accurate enough to destroy high-rises in Israeli cities such as Tel Aviv. But all these new fronts that could open in this battle are complications that nobody wants at this moment. There was historically, if we look back, there was a 2006, sorry, I'm still tired. I'm not sure if you could call it a war, but at least a flare-up between Israel and Lebanon that had left more than 1,000 Lebanese citizens dead on the Israeli side of the border. And the fear is that Hezbollah has already started laying the groundwork for a similar attack by digging tunnels under Israeli defenses. And there were tunnels that were found near that area just a few years ago. So, we have to be careful. Israel's air war is entering its 14th day. We were talking yesterday about possibility of 20 trucks of aid flowing through the Rafah border with Egypt and Israel. But as yet, that is an unfulfilled promise. They have not gone through yet. The president made a primetime speech from the Oval Office yesterday asking for Congress to pass a major spending package up to $100 billion and throwing things for Ukraine and for possibly border security into that bill to try and make it a little sweeter because this is a Congress, especially on the Republican side, that doesn't want to vote for anything money at the moment. And certainly there's a big movement there saying, yeah, we've spent too much on Ukraine already. We need to... So this is a clever strategic move to try and get some commitment for both Ukraine. To get more commitments for Ukraine by tying it to commitments to Israel, with which one would expect Republicans would be more likely to vote for. Biden made the point yesterday that there's a point of commonality going on here, and that both Israel and Ukraine are democracies with neighbors determined to wipe them off the map.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, so that's how he's linking both of them to trying to, it's. I can't even say that it's clever because it's just right there. It was literally sitting right there as something that one could say to make that point. So yeah, he's going all in. He's using his bully pulpit. He's strategically applying some pressure. He's doing it in the Biden way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ham-fisted. It's not ever, but it's just like dudes. This is. I've been in this game for over 35 years. We all know where this is going, right? So
it's not adding up to be good.
Right. So Biden knows that, right? So he knows how to sort of it's almost like he wants the water to flow a certain way, so he's like building a little higher bank here to make sure that the water goes in a little higher bank there. But he's not. It's not like he's like digging up the whole river. He's just like sort of trying to gently nudge it,
Hmm.
steer it. So it's that's where things like experience matters, and having built networks and relationships and whatnot over 35 years. And when we're talking about career politicians, it's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, but you got to use your powers and your knowledge for good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. In Canada, there has been a development with regards to the energy file. It seems that the Prime Minister of Canada wrote an open letter to Daniel
Really?
Smith. Oh, yeah.
I keep hearing those stupid I heard them on the radio the other day. I had a rental truck. I had to pick up and drop off some stuff, and I had to rent a truck to do it because I don't have a car anymore. And the items that I had were too big to fit in Bridget's vehicle, so I had to rent one. So getting a rental truck, well, there's no place to plug your phone in to get your Spotify or anything like that running. So I just turned on the local radio station, and I hear this strange ad about the federal government needs to get involved with hydro and blah blah. I'm like, what is this about? Brought to you by Alberta, the government of Alberta. I'm like, what? The government, the province with the highest hydro rates in the country, by a large margin, is trying to tell Ottawa how to regulate the provinces. Isn't that overstepping the bounds of jurisdictional power? And
Yeah,
we're
but I
not
mean,
being the smart people here, are we? Or are they so evil that they're playing us for fools?
yeah. I mean, this is Daniel Smith. Remember, as Nate said, once you understand that the first thing Daniel Smith will always do every time consistently is lie,
Mm-hmm.
then you can start to understand her.
Yes.
You can always count on her to first lie. So it seems that the Prime Minister of Canada decided to wade in to the pension issue.
No.
Oh yes. And this is a very, 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 very good move strategically.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Now, he wrote a letter, and of course, this is really silly. I'm on this anyway. I'm on the CBC site, and it says Trudeau attacks pitch to take Alberta out of CPP in open letter to Daniel Smith, and they don't put a copy of the open letter in the article. What the hell?
The dereliction of duty, my goodness. They've just completely lost the plot, haven't they?
They put the CPP briefing note to the Alberta Finance Minister from September 18th, 2019 in the document, but not the actual letter that the Prime Minister wrote. That is that's really, really, really bad.
It's like it's a complete dereliction of duty. Yeah, you got to read this story. It's a really good one. Oh, okay, where is it? We're not going to show it to you. What? But you said it was really important that I read it. Yeah, we're not showing it to you though. Find it on your own.
Oh my God, unbelievable. Okay. Sorry, my next move was to read the letter.
Oh,
But here it is. I got it. Thank you, Daniel Smith, for putting it on your timeline. It goes, Prime Minister, Ottawa, Ontario, K1A 082, October 18th, 2023. Dear Premier Smith, I write you at a time when Canadians are facing a lot of challenges. The world is changing fast, and the cost of living is putting a lot of pressure on hardworking people. Canadians need our support, and they need to have continued faith that their financial future is secure. With all the uncertainty they face, Canadians should not have to worry whether or not the Canada Pension Plan will continue to be there for them in their retirement. The Canada Pension Plan has been a stable fixture of Canadians and Albertans' pension income for almost 6 decades, providing support to millions of Canadians, very much including Albertans. It is built on the promise we make to Canadians that after a lifetime of hard work, they will get the retirement they deserve. As recently as 2016, the federal government and provinces, including the province of Alberta, reached an historic and responsible deal to strengthen CPP and enable Canadians to retire with more money in their pockets. Our unwavering commitment to securing people's financial future has led Canada to build a pension plan that is globally recognized success. And I will just point out here, because my eyes can't avoid it, because I'm a communications guy, there were 2 typos in that second paragraph. So this was a prime minister that was really, really, really eager to get this letter off. Because it says, and it's actually in the same line, strengthens, the letter actually reads, reached an historic and responsible deal to strengthen CPP and enable Canadian to retire with more money in their pockets.
Yeah, that was hastily written.
That was hastily written. Our unwavering commitment. So Canadians have to trust in the CPP, are proud of the CPP, and work hard with the expectation that the CPP will be there to provide financial security when the time comes to retire. Protecting and building upon this model is something the federal government takes very seriously. And of course, they take it very seriously because I mentioned in the previous paragraph, one of the very first things this government did in 2016 was to strike a deal with the provinces to strengthen the CPP. One of those other things that I mentioned when we say we'll look back at this prime minister as transformational, that was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. For these reasons, I am deeply concerned that your government has proposed to withdraw Albertans from the Canada Pension Plan. Alberta's withdrawal would weaken the pensions of millions of seniors and hardworking people in Alberta and right across the country. The harm it would cause is undeniable. Withdrawing Albertans from the Canada Pension Plan would expose millions of Canadians to greater volatility and would deny them the certainty and stability that has benefited generations. We have a model that works in this country. It offers workers a reliable future and pensioners with peace of mind. We are living in a time of unprecedented challenges. External forces and events, from geopolitical unrest to climate change and more, are having a direct impact on people here at home. As leaders, we have a duty to protect Canadians from these headwinds, not to introduce even more uncertainty and instability. And this is why, as Prime Minister, I want to assure Canadians and Albertans that I will always defend their pensions and retirement security against any actions that would threaten its certainty and stability. I have instructed my cabinet and officials to take all necessary steps to ensure Albertans and Canadians are fully aware of the risks of your plan and to do everything possible to ensure CPP remains intact. We will not stand by as anyone seeks to weaken pensions and reduce the retirement income of Canadians. Sincerely, Justin Trudeau.
That's a pretty heavy-handed letter. Basically, what was it as Trevor Noah would say? For those of you who don't speak Canadian, basically what Justin Trudeau says, it's on, motherfucker.
That's
what he said.
Yes, even Chantal Hébert on that issue the other night said she found that letter to be aggressive.
It is, but it should be, because it needs to be, because what she wants to do will harm 4.6 million people in Alberta.
Well, and she's also claiming that 53% of the fund belongs to Albertans.
It's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Now, it seems that this is all based on the fact that she claims, the UCP claim, right, is, well, Albertans are not getting their fair share of the Canada Pension Plan. Well, there's a reason for that. It would be because the demographics of Alberta make it such that it is one of the youngest provinces.
Yes.
You're getting less because, not because you deserve less or not because you're getting screwed. It's because you don't have as many old people.
It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
But math is hard.
But well, it's really hard because, first of all, they don't have enough old people, one, and then somehow she thinks that she deserves more than half of it.
So let me see. 40 million people. There's not even 5 million in Alberta. There's 40 million people in Canada, not even 5 million. Do the numbers. Where do you think, where does this 54% come up? Well, like, the math doesn't math, okay? It just simply doesn't work. Is that even 5% of the population? No, they're 10%. They're 10% of the population, but they want 54% of the money.
Yeah, 5 times. Like, with a younger population that probably hasn't contributed to it as long as well.
I mean, if anybody believes the bullshit she spews, I have oceanfront property in northern Saskatchewan to sell you.
And here's the thing that's also really interesting is that, right, this is Danielle Smith's Greenbelt.
Yes, it is.
Because in the election, I believe she pretty much said verbatim, nobody's touching anybody's pensions.
Yeah, she did say that.
She didn't campaign on it.
No.
She expressly denied that it would happen. It's deeply unpopular, but she's doing it anyway. That's exactly how we got the Greenbelt thing in Ontario.
Oh, yeah.
All these constants are exactly the same between the two.
Yep.
The variables are different, but they're the same damn constants. And here's the thing. This little letter from the Prime Minister is not only there. First of all, the federal Liberals, they're PR-wise having a little bit of a difficulty, and this is a winner of an issue. There's literally nothing for the Prime Minister to lose. One, because Danielle Smith, first of all, is being a cartoon character. She's literally being a cartoon villain. More than 53% of it is mine. I'm going to take all of Canada and tie it to the railroad tracks. Right? She's not winning. She's not making friends. She's not even making friends with Saskatchewan with this one. Right? And there's nothing that Alberta does that Scott Moe doesn't want to rush. Oh, Alberta, you're going to do that? Well, let me do this first. So, and Doug Ford is certainly not going to, well, wait a minute, if 5 million of you get 53%, what do 16 million of us get? 43?
Yeah.
I guess the rest of us is 47. The rest of it is all ours. And then everybody else goes, whoa. So yeah, she's got no leg to stand on this one. It's like, then there's no way that the Prime Minister can look bad fighting for everyone's pensions, especially against somebody who says, I'm going to take 53% of it, all of it. Mine, it's all mine. So this is not a winning issue for her. It's a total win issue. This is an issue for him that he can just haymakers, boom, 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 all over again. And it also has the wonderful effect of being a little time release grenade, just casually lobbed into the Conservative Party of Canada's camp, because surely somewhere along the way, some journalist is going to ask PP if he thinks it's a good idea that Alberta should leave the Canada Pension Plan, and if so, does he agree it should leave with 53% of the money?
Mm-hmm.
And then let the fur fly. Fight. If this is the issue with which the Prime Minister of Canada can do the same thing that President Joe Biden is doing on Truth Social, put a little stuff out there to make them fight. Hey, conservatives from Saskatchewan, do you really want those conservatives from Alberta taking 53% of the pension, leaving you all high and dry? Really? You're going to stand for that? Hey, the conservatives in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Atlantic Canada, you're already living in a region that's not doing as well economically as everyone else, and now she wants to come for your pension too. You gonna let that happen? Oh, did I do that? I'm so sorry. Oh, this is again petty. I love it. And this one is not even petty. That's the worst part. It's like you get all the benefits of being petty while standing up for something, everybody's pensions, and the overall strength of the system. Even if, like, Alberta is allowed to do it if they want to. There's no law stopping them. But it does affect, it makes the general pool smaller for all of us. It increases more risk. It increases the risk for the rest of the pool. And if she does in Alberta what it is that we think that she's going to do, where she's going to just take that money and use that good money to throw it in after bad in a dying sector. And when the population of Alberta wakes up and realizes that all their pensions are gone and they're dry, empty husks, oh, sorry, I've got nothing for you. or do we nip this in the bud right away?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, since Pierre Poilievre has made the statement that conservatives don't believe in expensive, costly social programs, well, I guess if the Prime Minister does this and then somebody asks PP how he feels about this and how he feels about the pension, and well, I guess he would have to be in a position to choose whether or not he's going to defend or not this costly social program, the CPP, that he's been telling people for the last few years is actually a tax. The deduction is a tax, which we've shown on this show it's not, because when you file your income taxes, you actually get a deduction for your CPP contributions,
Mm-hmm.
which is the complete opposite of what happens when something's a tax. you don't get a deduction if something is a tax. You get an addition. There's also there's also the question about whether or not the APP would be portable. What if you're not living in Alberta anymore and you start the CPP? Do you get to bring it back with you, or do you have to stay in Alberta to get it?
Bye. You lose it. Bye.
Yeah, and then so there's a lot of questions, and then there's so you've got Daniel Smith that decided to react to this. And they always put this thing on. They go, no, read my statement or listen to my statement or something. Right? It's just like, no. It's like, we know what your statement is. It's like, it's BS. So she puts out a tweet. First, our PM wanted to force Albertans to its knees with Bill C-69. The Supreme Court told him it was unconstitutional and illegal. Now he writes a letter to Alberta that he wants to take, quote, all necessary steps to stop Albertans from voting on a pension plan. My response, to be totally honest, because I know that everything that comes out of her mouth is pretty much BS and a lie, I didn't even bother to care enough to listen to what her response was, which probably I should do. Maybe we'll do it together here. I've sent you a link to it, Mr. Grizzly. But let's just remind here, before we listen to whatever drivel she's going to put up there, that when she says B69, Bill C-69, the Supreme Court told him was unconstitutional and illegal. No, actually, only certain sections of Bill C-69 were deemed as overreach, and the minister pledged to correct them. So the bill stays. The Supreme Court ruled that the federal government did have a role to play in this. It just had overreached a little bit in certain areas. So the bill stays. The bill remains. The overall heart and gist and goal and objective and thrust of the bill was deemed to be quite legal and constitutional.
Mm-hmm.
She's lying. She says he wants to stop Albertans from. Will take all necessary steps to stop Albertans from voting on a pension plan, is what she claims. No, I don't believe that was the case. I believe, oh darn, where did Daniel Dale's? I keep on calling him Daniel Dale Smith.
You got to think for Daniel Dale this morning, don't you?
I do. Well, Max Fawcett did this thing the other day with regard to it, and I said, "Ooh, Max Fawcett, borrowing the Daniel Dale thing." The Prime Minister said, I will do everything, here, quote, and to do everything possible to ensure CPP remains intact. So she reads English, and do everything to ensure CPP remains intact is, for her, becomes take all necessary steps to stop Albertans from voting on a pension plan. No, he never said he was going to block a vote. He never said that. Never threatened that. And unless this Daniel Smith character is also not going, unless she also allows Albertans who wish to remain in CPP to opt out of the APP should that referendum pass. Well, who's really forcing who here?
Yeah, it's a good question.
As we say, we can always count on her to first lie. Mr. Grizzly, let's see how Daniel Smith lied.
1 second, sir. I just have.
Whoops.
Yeah, I was just having some tech issues.
Okay.
Yeah, still having them. Bear with me.
Okay. Then I will keep talking. She really wants.
I got it.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, this. I just have to share it here. It's operating off a different computer system on a mobile site is not always easy.
Gotcha.
Let me just like the and Restream has been rather scrumply this morning.
Yeah.
Like I just trying to log in with my phone was almost impossible. It kept freezing, and right now I'm trying to load this video and it's freezing and it's not doing anything. So I reload the page and it still freezes and doesn't do anything. It's just really frustrating. I know it's neither the network or the computer. I know it's neither one of those things.
Okay.
Just this laptop that I'm using is better than the desktop computer I have at home. So.
Well, listen, I'll move to another topic, and if you're able to bring it up, we'll just come back to it. But yeah, this is a no lose situation for the Prime Minister, and basically, it's been a gift that's been handed him because let's be honest, it's not like the government of Canada couldn't use something to change the channel.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a tough go. So yeah, she just handed this to him, and here's the other thing that you also have to note. Daniel Smith often made the complaint that the federal government passes these laws. Sorry, I got to whip my Daniel voice. The federal government passes these laws and then forces Alberta to take him to court and pay for all of this. So it's time that we do the things the other way. That's the whole thing with our Sovereignty Act, right? In this case, Alberta did go to court, lower level court, and there was a rule that this overstepped. And it was the federal government who took the decision and went to the Supreme Court with it and said, we don't want to take it to court. We just want a reference. Could you just clear this up for us? And they got the reference. And then the reference decision came down, and then the minister said, okay, now that we got the reference and you've given us some guidance, we will rewrite the bill to comply with the guidance that you've given us, and we'll go forward from there. So Daniel Smith has nothing to complain about. They actually won a lower court ruling on certain aspects of it. The federal government, instead of challenging it and making Alberta pay, brought it to the Supreme Court itself, got the reference. And then when they got the reference, rather than doing what conservatives do, no, we will not respect this directive. This is an activist judge and all the things that they've said us to do, even though they've given us the roadmap. We will not do. We will do anything but that. We will fundraise the fuck out of it, though. No, he just quietly said, yeah, the court has spoken. We will fix it. And then we move on.
I have the video ready to go.
All right.
This is a question for Premier Smith, and it is related to the letter from the Prime Minister that was sent to you and to the entire universe, since it was an open letter.
Yeah, I think the universe received it before I did, actually. So
I'm wondering if you think part of his reason for intervening isn't just about pensions, but might also be about that ongoing debate going on between the Alberta government and Ottawa.
Well, I think it's because they lost a Supreme Court ruling on Friday, and they're trying to act as if that ruling didn't come down, but I can tell you it did. I've read the Constitution. I know what it says. I think that they should read the ruling and read the Constitution and stay in their lane. And so I think that this is probably a reaction to having lost so badly and knowing that we are going to defend our constitutional rights every chance we can, and that the Supreme Court is going to back us. So I think his letter was inappropriate in tone. It was overwrought. He's trying to overstate it to make some kind of political point, and quite frankly, I just don't think that that's helpful. I think we should allow for the process to play out, let Albertans decide, because we do have a constitutional right to manage our pensions under Section 94 of the Constitution.
What is your reaction to the federal government doubling down on their plans for the net zero by 2035 and their emission cap plans. I know that months ago you expressed a lot of hope that there could be some sort of a compromise and some sort of give and take. So how do you react now?
Well, I would say that Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault is an ideologue. He's always been an ideologue. He's always been going off, announcing things unilaterally, and he's quite frankly becoming very irritating to both me and my Environment Minister, Rebecca Schultz. As he continues to try to act unilaterally, I just take him less and less seriously because, quite frankly, they lost at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said they have to make sure that they proceed in a spirit of cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism is what I am doing. It's when I have conversations with them, I say, let's align around a 2050 target. It's my release of an emissions reduction report, which we did in April. It's my recommendation that we get a table together so that we can negotiate. That's what cooperative federalism looks like. Saying outrageous things in the newspaper to try to antagonize everyone is just irresponsible.
This from the lady who says we can't do until 2050 what everybody else says they could do until 2035, and 53% of the pension is ours. But we shouldn't be making outrageous claims in the media.
These are not serious people.
These are not serious people. She's read the Constitution. No, she
No,
hasn't.
she
She didn't
clearly
even. She didn't even know she couldn't. She shouldn't be on that phone call. Had she read the Constitution, she would have known. She also would have known that she did not have the power to pardon.
Oh, no, maybe she did read it. Maybe she did. But just because you read something doesn't mean you understand any of it.
Yeah. And then she says, well, we got to let Albertans decide. But again, it sounds more like we're letting David Parker decide. Because I'm sure that referendum is not going to let I'm sure that if Daniel Smith wants to get her hands on 53% of the Canada Pension Fund so that she can invest all of that into oil and gas, I'm pretty sure that when Albertans vote on that, and let's say they vote for it, which they probably won't, but let's say they do vote for it like this, I'm sure that that little form is not going to come with a little box and say, hey, if you would like, since we're talking about letting Albertans decide, and now that we do have an APP, you can decide whether or not you want to join the APP or remain in the CPP. If you want to remain in the CPP, check this box. Oh, I'm sure she's not going to let Albertans decide then. Is she? Because she wants all the money.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, she's asking for 53% of it. That's her opening bid. So if she wants 53% of Canada's money, do you think that she's going to let any individual Albertan decide whether or not they get to keep their own? Really? She's kind of telegraphing that one, that it's not. She goes, the federal government lost. No, they didn't lose.
She needs to look like she's won something, though. Remember?
Yes.
She has to look like she's won something.
Yes. And all that stuff I mentioned yesterday about her constant attacks against Stephen Guilbeault.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Guilbeault was an ideologue. Hello, sister. Have you smelled your own armpits? Really? We have a problem with ideologues, really? Really? you
Pot,
have a problem with ideologues.
let me introduce you to the kettle. Like, good God.
And good faith negotiation. Girl.
Lady,
Girl,
you've
if
lost
there's
it.
two words we do not associate with you, it's good faith.
She's lost it completely. Oh, I don't think she ever had it, actually, to be honest with you. She's a grifter. Just another reform grifter who's going to
She's
take the people of Alberta for everything she can.
She's a freaking cartoon character.
Oh, yeah. She just needs the snidely, mustache to twirl.
This is just silly. It's completely and utterly silly.
Well, and she'll sell out everybody in Alberta to get her way and doesn't care. Winning the federal government, we're gonna secede from Canada. We're gonna Wexit. Yeah, let me know how that works out. When you can't get your oil to any other nation because, BC's like, no, that ain't happening. And Quebec's like, oh no, you're not going to be doing that. What do you plan on doing when Alberta separates from Canada? Let's say it did. Okay, not only will that harm every Canadian, every single Canadian will be harmed by that. if it were to occur. Number one. Number two, Alberta would freeze in no time unless they became the 51st state. And then that's curious because they already said no to TMX. Was it TMX? No, which pipeline was it?
Oh God, that one that was going all the way down to Texas.
Yeah, Biden canceled that. It's not happening.
Yep, can't remember off the top of my
So
head.
how are they going to get their oil out of the province? Maybe they'll sell their coal. This is not a thought out plan. It's the same with the Brexit. People were convinced it was the right thing to do, and as soon as they did it, all the people who supported it, like the powers that be, they were gone. They were in the wind. UKIP, UK Independence Party, United Kingdom Independence Party, Nigel Farage. Yeah, that guy's got his money and ran.
Yeah. Keystone
Pipeline.
Keystone XL.
Thank you.
Yep.
I knew there was an X in there somewhere. Yeah, XL. I don't have everything all right all the time. I'm old and forgetful, and I've had a lot of concussions. But I do remember the gist of the story, and the story in this case was the premier of the province of Alberta is an idiot. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. She's either an idiot or playing her people for fools, or both. An idiot in power is a dangerous, dangerous thing, people. They're not smart, serious people. No. She doesn't know how to do basic math. Yeah, we're 10% of the population, and we want 54%.
Yep. Doesn't make sense.
I still don't have a grade 9 or a grade 11 math credit. I'm serious because, moving around the way the school systems work as a military kid. But I know how to do basic mathematics. 10% of the population does not deserve 54% of the pie. It just doesn't add up. I mean, come on, that's third grade level math. It really is that simple. This lady's out of her mind. I'll be right back. I got to go take care of something. I'll be back in a few minutes, sir.
All right. Now, I have a question that I keep on asking in a few days now, but it's, why are you being weird? Seriously. I'm like looking at Daniel Smith and sort of like, so you're saying he wants to take all necessary steps to stop Albertans from voting on a pension plan. It's like, actually, he explicitly said he'd take all necessary steps to ensure Albertans and Canadians are fully aware of your plan. Like, can you not read or understand English? Why are you being weird? And the same thing, PP. It's like a journalist is asking you basic questions about things that you basically are and that everybody's seen over the 20 years. You're admitting that it's not even happening. Why are you being weird? Somebody's trying to have a conversation, ask you a question, and you're acting like a petulant dick while eating an apple. Why are you being weird? Just why are these people being weird? It's nothing. It's completely untethered. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, and there is no real appetite for this pension thing too in Alberta. Oh, darn, I had the data with me over here, and then I switched to Windows for a second, so I lost it. Darn. Apologies for that, kids. I was trying to make an easy segue here. That didn't. But yeah, the polling is indicating that Albertans seem to be cool with the idea, but other than that, doesn't seem that there are many people interested in it. And as you get older, people are finding it even a less attractive proposition, if so to speak. I wish I had the data for you right here. I'm so sorry, kids, but I appear to have lost the article. Unfortunately, hopefully I will find it again and I will be able to get it to you. But yes, that is what's going on with the pension plan in Alberta, and some interesting political moves. So keep a watch for it, because I have a feeling that the Prime Minister is going to be talking about this issue a whole lot more because it's pretty much a can't lose for him
Oh yeah.
in this one. Now, another thing that Alberta keeps on trying to make the comparison to is to Quebec. But let's remember that Quebec actually never left the CPP. It just didn't
Never
join
joined.
it to begin
Yes.
with, right? And they didn't join. Guess why? At the time, Quebec had a younger than average population.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing. Well, we won't be getting as much in it, so why would we compare it? We'll just create our own. And of course, then, all the Quebec own fiscal planning because what they can invest their pension funds into. They wanted to control that. But now that Quebec has a higher than average population, well, it seems that they're paying a higher contribution rate as well for the QPP than people are paying for the CPP. So you see the situation now, right? Because that's the way it works with equalization, right? When the price of oil was high, it was at $140 a barrel. Well, then they were saying that the equalization formula was unfair. So Jason Kenney came in along with Harper, like this, and I think it was Premier Ed Stelmach at the time. So you had the most pro-oil government in all of Canadian history with a super pro-oil government in Alberta, and they renegotiated that equalization deal to pad stuff for themselves so that they'd have to share less with us when oil was 140, but then oil dropped down to about 60 something dollars a barrel again, and then the deal wasn't working for them. So then the deal was unfair, and then they wanted to switch it. So when oil is high, they want to switch it to be favorable to them, and then when oil is low, they want to switch it again so that's more favorable to them. So either way, they win.
Hmm.
That's what they do with equalization. So this is going to be very similar here, isn't it, with CPP? And this is certainly also, and this is where the Prime Minister can't lose on this, is it will generate a fight between provinces, because if Alberta starts making some steps more concretely to try to get its hands on 53% of the pension fund, I'm sure all other provinces and territories are going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, you think.
And since most of the provinces are governed by Conservatives, fight, 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 fight. Pull your hair out, gouge your eyes, go, do it, and then pass the popcorn. This one's a winner for the Prime Minister.
Oh yes, it is.
Yep. All right. It seems also that we have more legal issues because the MPP from Ontario, Sarah Jama, has sent a cease and desist letter
Saw that.
to Doug Ford, asking him to retract his statements that he made about her, or else she will sue him.
I hope she sues him.
Oh, me too. Oh, me too. I keep on saying this. I've been saying it for years. Every time they open their mouths and tell a lie about you, sue them.
Yeah.
Each and every single time.
Take
Once
their money away. And
money, Doug Ford, don't make me do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only language you understand. Money is the only language they understand. And once every lie about you comes with a mandatory $50,000 to $100,000 legal fee in 3 months, maybe then they'll stop.
It's the only way to do it.
Systematically, every time. Make it hurt, make it expensive.
It's the only thing they understand.
It's the only thing they understand. Money.
And, whether you agree with what she wrote or not, she wasn't factually incorrect. I read her statement. It wasn't factually incorrect.
She just said it really fast and soon, right?
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you introduce nuance?
So let me see if I get this correctly. The party that always rages on about free speech, which is not a thing here, gets mad when somebody expresses themselves freely, as we are constitutionally guaranteed the ability to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And let's see what she said. Tweet. I'm reflecting on my role as a politician who is participating in the settler colonial system, and I ask that all politicians do the same. #Free Palestine. And then her thing. Sarah Jama, MPP, Deputy MPP for Hamilton Centre, a call for an immediate ceasefire. The generations-long occupation of Palestine, as explained by Michael Link, the UN Special Rapporteur for the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territory, is apartheid, i.e., quote, a political regime intentionally prioritizing fundamental political, legal, and social rights to one group over another in the same space on the basis of racial, national, ethnic identity. We are seeking this definition of apartheid in real time through the continued violation of human rights in Gaza through the use of white phosphorus chemicals, the withholding of access to food, fuel, electricity, and water, and the destruction of the only exit from Gaza that isn't controlled by the State of Israel, the Rafah border. Especially with this context in mind, the news coming out of Israel and Palestine is deeply concerning. For 75 years, violence and retaliation rooted in settler colonialism has taken the lives of far too many innocent people. I call for an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation. We must look to the solution to this endless cycle of death and destruction, and all occupation of Palestinian land and end apartheid. Canada must hold true to its history of peacemaking and refrain from military intervention. My heart generally goes out to all of those impacted by this ongoing violence. I don't see what's controversial
I don't.
about this. Now, of course, when the Jewish people experience an incredibly horrifically violent event that sends them right back to World War II, because it is the largest extermination of Jewish people in a single day since then.
Mm-hmm.
You can pretty much reasonably expect that there will be a whole bunch of people who will not be open to the concept of a ceasefire immediately.
It's just,
So too soon, some might say, but then again, if you're worried about an instant retaliation where more people will die, then is it ever really too soon? Again, messy. It's all messy.
very.
And what we have is we have situations where if people are not saying the right thing that one of the sides wants to hear, then it doesn't happen. Like, for example, the United States used its veto to vote down a resolution at the United Nations that 12 of the 15 nations on the Security Council agreed with, because the resolution didn't assert or confirm that Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yeah.
Something to which other people there on that group wouldn't agree either. Certain nations in there. So is there a way to form a resolution that doesn't talk about anybody's rights to defend themselves and that addresses the fact that there's been violence or something? But no, it doesn't happen. So what we have here is, well, for example, Minister Joly, when the hospital was attacked, right? Immediately attacked, put out something because everybody runs to you with the hot take. And she writes, bombing a hospital is an unthinkable act, and there is no doubt that doing so is absolutely illegal. That's it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have Andrew Coyne. Oh my God, I can't believe you left this up there. It's still up there. You have Robin Urbank. It is truly astonishing that Canada's foreign minister has left this tweet up 36 hours later. There is no ambiguity as to whom she is referring to in this tweet. Hamas, Palestinian, Islamic Jihad aren't held to the standards of legality by foreign governments. Again, bombing a hospital is an unthinkable act, and there is no doubt that doing so is absolutely illegal. What in those words indicate to whom she's referring to, especially in a completely non-ambiguous way? She's referring to no one. Bombing a hospital is an unthinkable act. It is.
Period.
There's no doubt that doing so is absolutely illegal. It is illegal. It's against the laws of war. That's it. There's no attribution. There's no suspect. There's no speculation. But to Robin Urbank, it is very, very, very clear that Melanie Joly is blaming Israel for this in those statement, and Andrew Coyne was taking the same position. I was like, can we just stop it already? That's a boilerplate, hot take diplomacy response when there are not yet enough independently and credibly verified facts available in the public domain to attribute with certainty blame. It's the Minister of Foreign Affairs of a G7 country. Don't expect her to start assigning blame before there are any credible facts to go out on a limb and put us in danger of having made the wrong decision or siding with the wrong camp right off the get-go. Bombing a hospital is unthinkable. It's wrong. It's illegal. That's all that needs to be said in the first few minutes before there are any facts we still haven't verified yet. There still isn't anything in the public domain credibly verified saying specifically where that came from yet. But they're all pissed off because our government decided to talk about the event and not those who committed it, because there was no information available in the public domain to speculate on that. The only one here that is making an inference is Robin Urbach.
Yeah.
Or Andrew Coyne here. And the inference, once again, is that our government is somehow anti-Semitic. This has got to stop. This has got to stop.
I don't know if it will, though, but
the fact that the statement doesn't meet every single one of your needs personally is not what matters, and it's not all about you. People are dying. The fact that the statement didn't have enough condemnation for your liking here in Canada is really pretty fucking irrelevant. Just shut up. Stop it. It helps nobody. Your hot take that minutes after it happened, oh yes, this is the government clearly blaming Israel and taking the side from that. Fuck off. Sit back. Wait for people to provide some actual verified information and comment on something you know. Helps nobody.
mm-hmm.
War is not the time for hot takes from hot heads.
Definitely not.
Stop it. We do not live in a country where any of our potential governments of any stripe that are available to us would be anti-Semitic. This is not the country we live in. So stop it. Wearing out my weave. Seriously. And then, if premiers aren't doing stupid stuff enough, in the province of Quebec, Premier Legault, Frankie Legs, who apparently seems to be in a total panic since he lost that by-election in Jean Talon to the Parti Québécois. I mean, the guy still has a big lead, I would assume, overall. I'd have to check with the 338 Canada in the public opinion polls. I would assume, just taking a look at here, provincial productions. Yes, okay, yeah. According to, oh no, that's, yeah, provincial. Sorry, that's probably not helping me. So yeah, I would have to CAQ. Yeah, there we go. Okay, according to, updated October 3rd. The CAQ right now is polling at 34. The Parti Québécois is polling at 21. So still a 13-point lead. But apparently he's in a panic. Total panic. Because within, I think, a day of him having lost the by-election in Jean Talon, which is in the Quebec City region, he totally reversed himself yet again on the third link, which is a bridge from the South Shore to the North Shore of Quebec. There was a plan to build a third bridge, a third link, and then there wasn't, and then there was, and then there wasn't. And now it seems that there is again, now that he's lost. Now the federal government has said that it would be there with some money if the third link has a some mass transit towards it, because the government is not funding just straight highways anymore. There has to be a public transit component of some kind to it. So that was the first thing, just completely out of the blue, uncalled for, unannounced, untelegraphed, just out of the blue. Oh, that third link thing that I said during the last election that probably we're not going to do after I promised we would, and then I said we didn't, and then I promised we would. Well, yeah, that's back on again. In addition to that, he has recently announced that if you are a Canadian citizen who does not have a permanent residence in Quebec, and you are an Anglophone, and you would like to go and study at an internationally recognized and reputable institution such as McGill University or Concordia University, or you would like to have a more intimate experience by going to Bishop's University in Sherbrooke, that you are now essentially considered an international student. Now, out-of-province students already pay more to go to university outside of province, but not as much as international students. For example, if you're an out-of-province student and you want to go to the University of Toronto in an arts degree program, you're going to pay about $6,500 a year. Yeah. They call these differential fees. Well, in Quebec now, it seems that if you're a Canadian citizen living outside Quebec and want to go study at McGill, your tuition fees have just gone up from $9,000 a year to $17,000.
Yeah, that's going to kill enrollment, don't you think?
Now, the Americans will keep coming and the foreign nationals will keep coming probably.
Because it's still cheaper for them.
So apparently, François Legault, if you melt this all down, has decided that Anglo-Canadians of university or college age, university age, let's just say, are the big threat to Francophone culture.
Yeah. Just, come on. Come on.
And again,
ridiculous.
Out of the blue, not campaigned on, nobody saw it coming, just announced. Sounds like someone's in panic.
You think?
And flailing. This is not well thought out at all.
Stupid.
I don't know what's going on in Frankie Lake's government, but he's a bit of a hot mess. And here's the thing, right? He's got such a big lead. It's like one by-election loss is all that takes this guy who kept on speaking with supreme avuncular confidence. Oh, we don't do that here. And here's another thing, right? Because you can see his arrogance. There's that whole Churchill Falls thing, right? Because we were talking about electricity earlier. And that Newfoundland got a really bad deal with that, right? Because they sell their energy to Quebec. Quebec buys it for pennies on the dollar. And then whatever excess energy Quebec has from Churchill Falls, that's our energy now, Quebec says. So they resell it to the United States at really great prices for Quebec.
Yeah.
Because they buy it for almost nothing and then they sell it at regular market prices. Well, Newfoundland's not too happy about that. And hasn't been happy about that for quite a while. So wants to keep on renegotiating a deal. And I believe the Premier of Quebec said something like, I'm sure that we will arrive at a mutually agreeable understanding. But, I mean, you have to understand the reality on the ground. I mean, they need our power lines. So really, what are they going to do? That was almost literally word for word. I said, well, I understand that they want a better deal, and I guess we're willing to negotiate something, but at the end of the day, they're completely dependent on our power lines. So, I mean, what are they going to do, really? It's not like they got the power. And that's who we're dealing with. That's who he is, really. When the mask falls, that's who that man is. And now he's panicking. Good. You should be worried.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that governments should fear their people. They shouldn't. But they should have a healthy respect for them.
Well, at least.
Such as that when they let you know that they are displeased. you don't suddenly forget that you're first among equals and not just first. Premiers.
They don't care. They don't care, man. They don't care. They never will.
Yes, I know. Pharmacare is in the news because the NDP is doing that differential thing that it's doing for its base. A little bit of getting jaggy with it has been going on. Getting juggy with it. Jagmeet Singh has said, we now have the leverage given to us by our convention and our members that say we need to keep on putting pressure on this government. Now, in Canada, the pharmacare bill that has sort of been tabled so far, that they're working on, is more like a patchwork bill for when you don't have private insurance already. Because one of the fears, of course, with the pharmacare bill is if you make it just one thing, like Jagmeet Singh wants it, just like single payer, all that type of stuff. Well, people who already have some health insurance, drug coverage, who get pretty good coverage, are concerned that because now it would be one stop and it would have to serve absolutely everybody, that the benefits would be spread a little thinner and the coverage may not be as good. So that would be a thing, because that's what happened in the US when they tried the Obamacare thing, right?
Yeah.
President Obama was saying, if you like your healthcare provider, you get to keep it. And it turns out, no, you couldn't. And that's basically where people started getting mad. So here's the same thing too. It's like, if you're going to do a universal thing, if people already have something better than the universal thing is, that they have to be given the option to remain in it.
Well, see,
right?
I need to refill a script right now. You can see this. This is called rosacea. It's painful. It's not pleasant to look at, and I don't like it. It's embarrassing. And I have I need two scripts. One is for tetracycline, which is very easy to get. That's not a big deal. And my insurance provider will cover the cost, and I only pay $4. The other script is Rosavir, which is ivermectin, literally ivermectin. And it is made by one company on planet Earth. There is no generic version of it. Mm-hmm. So it's $250 for a tube about this big. That's a lot of money to spend on something I need to put on my face. And my insurance company will not cover it because it's not generic. So there's a gap there that a national program would cover.
Yep.
And now I can afford the $250 right now because I got a little extra money because I just sold my car.
Yeah.
But a week ago, I couldn't afford that.
Right. And that's what this bill is. It's sort of like to fill in the gaps.
Because there's a gap there. I have an insurance plan that I pay through for my company. It costs me I think it's about $120 a month. And I'm looking at it going like, do I want to keep this? Because it's not, without getting into the nitty gritty of, there was the company I work for purchased my employer. So there's the parent company that bought the company that I was hired by back in 2019. So parent and then child company, there was 75 of us, and my healthcare insurance plan in the company that I was in that cost me less money, gave me more coverage. Mm-hmm. My ivermectin cream was covered. Now I'm in a company with 1,200 employees. We're the 5th largest in the world at what we do. And my insurance program that costs me more money doesn't cover that medication.
Yeah.
One would think a larger company with more purchasing power would have a better, but no, we don't.
You would think. Yeah, exactly.
We don't. I have less dental coverage. I have less drug coverage.
Yep. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has put out a report saying that the plan would cost about $11 billion a year. And it seems that with rising prices and inflation and all that kind of stuff, that the amount of savings that could be realized by National Pharmacare Program has dropped. It was several billion dollars. Now it's estimated to be only about $1 billion that we would save. And I can't believe I'm actually saying we would only save about $1 billion.
Only $1 billion.
Only $1 billion. Politics makes strange words go together. It's about the only context in which I say that's only $1 billion. It's not really worth it. So what happens, and of course, because of higher interest rates, of course, our deficits are going up. The deficit is estimated to be about the deficit this year compared to last year, year over year, is going to be about 15 to 17% higher because of rising interest rates to service the debt. Um, now, if the NDP does not like what the Liberals are going to propose, and it's pretty much there's very little belief out in political circles that Liberals will propose the single payer universal pharmacare program that the New Democrats so desperately want, which could probably lead to the New Democrats pulling themselves out of the supply and confidence agreement. And then everybody just think, oh my God, well, that will be the end. Well, no, because pulling out of the supply and confidence agreement, should Jagmeet Singh do that, only means that we go back to how we normally do minority governments.
Hmm. Yes.
That's how it's. We don't go to an election. The government doesn't fall. It's not non-confidence. It's not
how
that.
it works.
It's not that the NDP will vote down the government of next. It's just that there's
Well-
no longer a guarantee that their vote will be theirs on a supply or confidence motion.
But you also have to understand it would not be in the NDP's interest to bring
Exactly.
it down.
It doesn't change any of the real politic on the ground in terms
No.
of going to an election now. It doesn't change the party's finances. It doesn't change their ability to recruit talent. None of that. And it also doesn't change the reality that, as we keep on mentioning, the Liberals have more than one dance partner. The Bloc Québécois is also a dance partner, and they actually have more seats in the House of Commons than the NDP. And I'm sure that the Bloc Québécois would have no problem voting for a patchwork bill on pharmacare if it included a lot of money for Quebec, especially with no conditions attached.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And given that the Conservatives have been leading an all-out media war against the Bloc Québécois in Quebec, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure that Yves-François Blanchet would love an issue that he could say that he's fighting for something better for Quebec, even if that means he needs to stand shoulder to shoulder with Justin Trudeau to do it. Because on that sense, the man's agnostic.
Oh, yes.
He doesn't care he doesn't care what stripe the government of the day that is going to give money to Quebec is, so long as that there's money coming for Quebec. Where it comes from, whether it's conservative money or liberal money, completely agnostic. They don't care. Doesn't matter. It's just, is there money? Are you paying Papa? We're good. So there could be some interesting developments there too. And Chantal, I think it's Athia Raj, I think, made the point yesterday on At Issue that, to be totally honest, in her opinion, the part of the supply and confidence agreement that the NDP probably cares about more than pharmacare in real terms is the anti-SCAB legislation. And that has not been passed yet. And that's probably a strategic decision from the Liberal government, because if they are aware, then why would they pass the anti-SCAB legislation first? Pass all the other stuff first and then pass the anti-SCAB legislation. That way you keep them in the game. Clever, clever, clever. All right, kids. Like I said, this is why I love the politics, the cut and the thrust, the political, the strategy, what's going on, why you're making that move. Because everybody said, well, just pass the anti-SCAB legislation, do it now. Yeah, you could just do it just now, but then you've lost your leverage. If that's the bill the NDP really wants, well, why would you get it out of the way first? That makes no sense strategically. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, and by the way, if we're talking about leverage, because I know we have to go, but Evan Scrimshaw has an article out talking about the NDP and talking about the NDP claiming it's got leverage, and it's like they don't. That's pretty much they don't. So, but you will hear that now a lot from Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh, along with force, his favorite word over the next few weeks will be leverage. So just keep your ears open out of it. And when you hear it, just smile and, oh, bless your heart, dear one, bless your heart. You think you have leverage. Okay. Anyway, Mr. Grizzly, do we have I'm particularly bitchy today, ain't I?
Just a little bit.
Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crider Media Network. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. We really do. Because sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. Please let your peeps and poops know all about us. We really, really, really appreciate that you do. So, and it means a lot to us, just one-on-one. When we see how much that you love the show, when you say good things about it, it gives me a bit of a warm fuzzy, I have to admit. So thank you for that. And that's a gift in and of itself. If, because democracy is something that you do and you want to do some democracy today, if you live in the Northwest Territories, make sure that you are registered for the upcoming territorial election, and make sure that you plan your vote, and start calling some friends and seeing if they'd like to come with you to vote, because when you're doing democracy, friends don't let friends vote alone.
Goodness, no.
No, voting's a group activity. Come on. Donate to the Red Cross if you can. The need is great. And of course, keep those letters coming. Handwritten ones are always best, but keep those letters coming to the press, to your MLAs, your senators, your MPPs, your city councilors, your school board members. They need to know. They need to know.
Yes, absolutely. They
You
do. And remember, your school board is where they get involved first.
Yes. And you can't let the loudmouths occupy all the room.
No, God, no.
You need to provide the ratio. If you would like to make sure that you do not miss a single episode, and we will have a lot of them dropping for you soon. We're a little behind on getting them on the podcast, but don't worry, they are coming.
There's about 5 of them coming.
Yeah, they'll be. You'll get a whole week's worth in once. If that doesn't put us in the top 30 on the charts when they all come out at the same time, I don't know what will.
It's I try and get them in every single day at the end of the day, right? But it's been a strange week for me, work-wise, along with the fact that yesterday I was basically couch-bound for the day. So.
Yeah, and then last week was a word week for me, so I couldn't get the descriptions to you fast enough to get them up daily. So first week was me, second week, it's just the universe. So, but they are coming, kids. and I know I'm saying this today on the 20th of October, and by the time you probably listen to this, given that you've got 5 shows to get through, it might be significantly later, but we really are sorry.
We're still getting it done. We're just a little late. That's all.
So yes, if you don't want to miss anything, thanks to the Ray Girl, you do not have to, because Kit the Ray Girl so generously sponsored our pod page site. So if you go to the pod page, if you go to podpage.com, / the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words, or you scan that squiggly that's right under my shoulder here. Nope, this one. Then that will bring you to the pod page site, and you can subscribe there. Yes, as Kit Elaine says, pod page, not pod cage. We cannot be held responsible for what happens to you or what you see if you go to podcage.com.
Yeah.
Just
I don't even know if it's a thing.
I don't. Yeah. See, that's. I haven't even been brave enough to go look myself. So we. Forewarned is forearmed. We cannot take responsibility for what happens if you go there. And if you would like to encourage us to do more, well, the squiggly, that was just on Mr. Grizzly's forehead before he turned around. That brings you to our coffee page, and that's where you can make your contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, as Kit MK did a few days ago by saying, "You folks are one of the best news and explanatory media I know right now." Wow. My grammar sucks, so ignore any made-up words or phrases. Laugh out loud. Seriously, though, I wonder if you realize how few and far between your progressive, sunny, inclusive show is in this country. Much love and respect, Kit MK.
Wow, thanks. That's wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a compliment.
I don't feel worthy.
That's how you pay a compliment. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like
right here in the feels.
Honored.
Yes, definitely.
Not humbled. Not humbled. Honored.
Honored. Yeah, humbled is a completely different thing.
Completely different thing.
Yes. Oh, yes. Kitland M. Just in the news, Christine Sinclair has announced her retirement from international play. I saw that on Devin's feed. It was just a pair of sneakers that were hung up somewhere.
Okay.
Black and white picture.
Mm.
Class. That woman's class. I love her. I love Christine. How can you not love Christine Sinclair? I love Christine Sinclair.
She's killer.
Yep. All killer, no filler. Yep. All right. So we did the pod page. We did the coffee page. Oh, Kit Elaine, I'm sorry. I almost missed the like, share, subscribe on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. Very, very important. Smash those buttons. So, from the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
Yeah, when your technology goes sideways on you, like mine has today, both my personal computing devices and my multiple work computers, and things aren't working right. My phone is failing. This is crashing. That's not working. Try not to let it get you down. I know sometimes you just, I seldom get mad at human beings. Seldom. I don't say never, but I seldom get mad at human beings. I get mad at technology all the time, especially when it fails and it's supposed to work. Human beings, I seldom get mad at. I did get mad at people who, occupied my neighborhood for 3 weeks and treated us like animals. I think that was justifiable, though. But yeah, I seldom get mad at human beings, but I do get mad at technology. So on days like today, when the technology goes sideways, when everything is scronkly and the system is borking, just chalk it up to, oh, well, what can you do? Take a deep breath, count to 10, and move on.
Yep.
Because don't let that son of a bitch get you down.
But as Kit Saucy says, honking human beings, on the other hand.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Put on your blue jacket, go in that street and tell them, do you know anything about Cemex?
Well, I mean, really, I seldom get mad at people, but people treating other human beings horribly, yeah, I'm going to get mad at that. Yeah.
As we should.
As we should.
Yes, there are certain times that we should not mind our own business, and that's one of them.
Absolutely.
Mr. Grizzly, please roll the credits. It's the weekend. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Before we go for the weekend, kids, you ever have those moments where you feel like you're living in Groundhog Day?
Yes.
I think Leila Fernandez might be going through the same thing. Remember how just last week she won a tournament, beating a lady named Katerina Siniakova? Well, she's playing the next tournament. She's in the semifinal instead of the final now, and she's playing against Katerina Siniakova. It's like, didn't I just beat you?
Wow.
And Felix Auger-Aliassime has started winning a few matches again. He's in his latest tournament, he's won 2 matches before being eliminated. So that Davis Cup is coming real soon in November, and so is the Billie Jean Cup. So hopefully, Billie Jean King Cup. So hopefully the tennis players are back in form in time. All right. Have a great weekend, kids. And remember, Saturday, podcast and Mateo's birthday.
Welcome to the place where everyone knows your name, where everyone's your friend, where good times are had by all. Sit back, relax, pour yourself a beverage and enjoy our company. I know we'll certainly enjoy yours. Welcome to the True North Eager Beaver Pubcast. Once a month, we gather at the Lieutenant's Pump at 361 Elgin Street in downtown Ottawa, Canada's capital city, bringing you joy and happiness all day long.
See you Saturday.
Yes, I like the camera. I can pretend like I'm Irish clogging. Nobody would know.
You're doing a little river dance, are you? See you tomorrow, kids.